What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another live edition of SteelTwins Saturday night. It's been a minute since we did one. I think the last one we did was when the Steelers actually hired Brian Flores. And we've been off the last 2 weeks because there's not much to talk about. There's been no news reported. It's been very slow heading into March. But that all changed this week, man. That all changed this week. It's been a really crazy week before the league year comes around.
Yeah, this upcoming Wednesday, actually. Initially, it was like putting a pot of water on a warm stove. And we were just staring at it, waiting for something to happen. But it was just very slow news. Like, nothing was coming up until just this past week where we took our eyes off the pot of water, and immediately it started boiling. Immediately.
Yeah. Russell Wilson traded to the Broncos. Aaron Rodgers is back with Green Bay. God, what else? Amari Cooper just got traded to the Browns earlier. I mean,
Carson Wentz is going to the Commanders. God bless him.
God bless them overall. God bless everyone outside of the Colts, because they actually safe. So I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback. Hopefully they get Jimmy G, just so that I don't have to see Jimmy G in a Steelers uniform. I cannot bear that. But
yeah, I'm tired of seeing all these jersey swaps of Jimmy G in a Steelers uniform. I do not want anything to do with Jimmy G.
But how's your guys' Saturday night, man? How's your guys' weekend? We actually got some Steelers news to talk about. Not much. The Steelers have been pretty quiet. They've been very Steeler, like they've been cheap. They're signing undermining guys. The Steelers resigned Miles Killebrew to a 2-year, $4 million deal, which I incredibly agree with. And
it's a great deal for such a good player. Nothing much of a defensive guy, but he's a hell of a special teams guy. Hell of a special teams god.
He would have been a Pro Bowler if Matt Slater wasn't such a special teams demon. But bringing back Killebrew was a must. That's a great signing. I agree with that. Dwayne Haskins was officially given the original round tender, so he will have a chance to be a starting quarterback and will be a Steeler for the 2022 season. And earlier today, Arthur Millette was actually re-signed on a 2-year deal. One I honestly am indifferent to. I get the veteran presence. I get the versatility, but I was not pleased with Millette last year. I thought we should have prioritized Witherspoon over him first, but I guess, he does provide some depth for next year. So
And I guess, a starting caliber slot guy, since that position is basically wide open. Honestly, I would give Norwood that opportunity since I felt like he stuck out more.
He still will.
I believe, don't get me wrong, but I feel like he stuck out more than Millette. And I honestly thought Millette was very inconsistent. I honestly thought we could have let him go, but it is what it is. He's back for at least 2 years, so we'll just have to deal with it.
But no big names have been re-signed yet for the Steelers. No Edmonds, no Witherspoon, no Hayden, no Juju, no Ray Ray. In fact, Ray Ray has some attraction to him from several different teams, man, to be real with you, which is a little shocking to me. I know Juju has some interest from the Eagles, the Chiefs, and, of course, the Steelers. Now, the Steelers, their name has been floated around a little bit regarding some trades. One being, like the chat is saying, Fletcher Cox. Now, this was a guy that the Steelers had their hands on, or could have had their hands on before the trade deadline last year. However, the Eagles wanted a 3rd-rounder for him last year. Colbert rejected. Now, seeing that Fletcher Cox's cap hit is going to be, what is it going to be, like $15 million next year?
Yeah, and I think the dead cap, if the Eagles were to trade Fletcher Cox to whoever, would be like some odd $40 million.
They would suffer $40 million in dead cap, the Eagles would. So they're going to want sizable compensation.
Of course. And Fletcher Cox, yeah, he's aging. He's 32 years old, or could be 32 years old, but Fletcher Cox is still a hell of a defensive tackle. He's still a hell of a player.
He, in my opinion, he would bring very good veteran dependability, which we honestly don't have right now, outside of Cameron Hayward.
That's just about it. Alu, lately, he's been very injury-prone. Tuitt is very undependable as well with his injury concerns. Although they're both expected to be back, which is good to hear.
Yeah.
Especially Tuitt. It's good to hear some update about Stephon Tuitt.
And, of course, as you guys are saying in the chat, man, hell, they said it before we even went live.
I mean, this thing has been flowing around for the past week, really.
For the past 48 hours, more specifically. Deshaun Watson. He will not face criminal charges.
He is a free man. He is innocent. Will not face criminal charges. He is finally rid of himself of all this drama, of all this baggage. Now he is capable to choose whoever he can go to because it is basically his decision.
He has no trade clause, so it is all ultimately his decision. First of all, Steel Rick with a $5 super chat says, trade for Garoppolo, please. Steel Rick, I appreciate the $5, but I do not agree, man.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have to deny. I really am. Respectfully.
I'm not taking his cap hit. I'm not wasting picks for someone that gets carried or has been gotten carried his whole career, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
I'd rather stick with Mason, or I'd rather trade for Deshaun Watson. Yes, I am all for trading Deshaun Watson.
You are. I'm kind of on the fence, but I'll let you speak your piece.
Okay,
on what you think.
Deshaun Watson, man, I know he's taken a year off, but he's still a hell of a quarterback. He's still a top 10 quarterback if he were to play. He is. He's that talented. He's the reason why the Texans had some relevancy before the whole Bill O'Brien hurricane occurred, where he traded away Hopkins and Watt left and all this, before Bill O'Brien completely tore down what could have been a solid team. Deshaun Watson was one of the few guys that just kept them relevant and kept them, within contention. I know his last full season, they only won, 4 games, but he didn't have much to work with. He really didn't. And, of course, he wants out of Houston. Who wouldn't? So I would trade for Watson. I know it's going to be. I know it's going to cost a lot. I know it's going to be very sizable to trade for. However, the Steelers do not have to trade, or they do not have to give the best trade to get Watson. It is ultimately Watson's decision. And Brian Flores, who Watson has said he wants to work with, is the Steelers linebacker coach.
Yeah, so having Brian Flores is definitely a major plus. Then having him as the linebacker or senior defensive linebackers coach to help groom these young linebackers that we got, but it's a big plus because Watson could very well have that interest to continue to potentially try to work with Flores like he wanted to in Miami, but we all know how that ended.
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong. I love Deshaun Watson. I think he's a great quarterback. I think he will be a great quarterback for the next decade. I really do. He's still young. He's still reliable, even having a year off because of the lawsuits he sustained and him not wanting to play with the Texans. And like Dan said, who can blame him? I mean, it's Houston, for God's sake. But the thing about it is, I'm looking at this Watson situation the way I did with Aaron Rodgers. Now, Watson is younger. He's much younger, and he's just as good currently in the NFL. He's still one of the top quarterbacks, in my honest opinion. But I look at what we potentially have to give up. Like the Steelers were interested in Aaron Rodgers. They were willing to give up a bargain for Aaron Rodgers. And I would have to imagine, despite the reports, they'd be interested in Watson. I would still think so. I mean, I want to see.
I would imagine so.
If you're interested in A-Rod, you would have to be interested in a younger guy in Watson.
And first of all, I 2 things. One, truthfully, I do not think he's going to be traded to the Steelers. I don't think he's going to be traded to an AFC team. I don't think the Texans would want to do that. Second, there's been sources saying that the Steelers are interested, that they aren't interested, then there's another person saying that they are, that they're close, that they're not interested.
That they're in talks, that they're not.
It's a sources war on Twitter. My sources say that your sources fucking suck. I don't know what to believe anymore.
I'm only going to rely on the people with a lot of reliability, a lot of,
good research and good history and check marks specifically.
Yeah, not these people that are going to get our hopes up or get our optimism through the roof. It's like those people I don't give a shit about.
But going back,
I'm only going to rely on actual verified people with good backgrounds, good sources.
But going back to your Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson comparison of what we would have to give up for him, again, first of all, we wouldn't have to trade the best offer.
I get that, but it's still going to be a bargain though for Houston.
Yes, but it's a bargain that's worth it because with Rodgers, you would have to trade a lot, which they were going to before he obviously returned to Green Bay. You'd have to trade a lot only for him to be here maybe 2-3 years max, and then you'd have to replace him again. With Watson, you get 10 plus years out of him.
Oh yeah, listen, I don't deny that. I agree with that. But I also look at not only of how much we have to give up, I look at how much money he's got. And he is deserving of that money. He's a hell of a quarterback, but I look back at when we extended Ben many, many times and how much cap that we had to sustain, how much little cap we had to sustain. I don't know if I'm going to be willing to deal with that again, even for Watson, who's so good, so great. Again, don't get me wrong. I would love for him to be a Steeler.
Well, here's the thing.
I just don't see it happen.
Watson would keep us in contention.
Yes, he would, but I also look at it as if we were to trade for Watson, we're basically going into next season with the same team, but with Deshaun Watson. I mean, you got the offense basically taken care of. You just got to fix up the offensive line a bit.
Which they would.
I know.
I would hope so.
I know they would, but then you're kind of forgetting about the defense.
What do you mean?
Because there's so many holes in that defense as well. I mean, yeah, we got Watt, we got Hayward, we got Tua coming back, we got Minka. I understand that. But there's still other holes, We don't really have a number one dependable corner, right? Linebacker's a questionable issue. I'm surprised Schobert's still even with the team. I thought he'd be cut by now.
Yeah, I don't know why Schobert hasn't been cut yet.
And Devin Bush's, future is quite uncertain. I don't even know if we're going to pick up his fifth-year option, considering how he's been.
Well, I wouldn't imagine so, but maybe, and again, I don't see the Steelers trading for Watson here, but maybe Bush is part of that core because they need a linebacker.
They could. I mean,
I would only do that if we have a guy like Bobby Wagner secured, which we'll get into that. That'll be part of the free agency wish list. But
I mean,
I think we would still have sizable cap in the draft to work with.
I would have to imagine that his cap that he's going to be taking this year is going to play a toll into this year's for our cap.
Let's see
that we have now and could still make room whenever we decide to make more moves.
Wherever Deshaun Watson goes, his cap for this upcoming year is a $40 million cap hit, but the yearly cash is $35.
That's still a lot. And we still got to resign some of our guys. We got to go into free agency and potentially pick up some pieces to fix some positions that we got to fix. Because quarterback ain't the only position.
We have Omar Khan.
I know we have Omar Khan, and thank God we still do. But I just don't know how I'd feel potentially going to next season with the same team, but with Deshaun Watson. I really don't, if I'm going to be honest.
Would that be part of the rebuild process?
More like a reload process.
Exactly.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of on the fence on just us building the team up from the draft. Because this is very unsteeler-like to trade for a big player or a big quarterback, big name quarterback.
Okay.
And I'm kind of in the vote or in the realm of building the team around the draft and kind of doing what we did back in 2003. Where we had a mini down year, we were like 6-10, and then we went into the draft and got our future.
Well, here's the problem: we're not going to have that bad of a down year like everyone's saying. We're still going to remain within the 7-seed contention. I hope you understand that.
I do understand that. Listen, do not get me wrong. I completely understand that, and I think the Steelers will still somehow be competitive. But I don't think we're really going to have anything of a winning season, or we may barely make the 7th seed.
That's okay. That's what I'm expecting too.
And I'm thinking we could potentially have a down year like the Steelers did in 2003 before they got Big Ben, and look how long he played for us. I think maybe it could be another scenario in which the Steelers could potentially take the chance on.
Okay. Which will probably be the most likely outcome next year. We could see that very well happening. That's actually something we've been stating. Fix the line this year, then get your quarterback next year. I agree with that. But with a guy like Watson, who wants to work with a guy like Mike Tomlin, like Brian Flores, I think it's a sizable offer we could give the Texans and Watson to attract him to the team. That would probably cost 2/3, maybe 2 firsts, maybe a third next year, maybe a player or two. I'd throw into it, maybe Bush.
And I don't know, with Kevin Colbert's this being Kevin Colbert's last year as the Steelers GM before he officially retires, maybe he does hit a home run for the Steelers and get us a guy like Deshaun Watson.
He tried to do it with Aaron Rodgers.
I know.
So I'd imagine I'm not ruling anything out with Kevin Colbert right now. He could trade up in the draft. He could trade for Jimmy G. Fingers crossed, not. He could trade for Watson. He could trade for someone else.
Like I said earlier, I'm thinking of this scenario the same way as Aaron Rodgers,
Right.
And yes, the main difference is Watson is younger, but you're still dealing with having to trade a lot of draft capital and having to deal with a lot of that money that Watson already has. Like, I'd rather use that money to fix other holes on the team.
Sure,
and sign a decent veteran that's a capable starter. Nothing, and obviously the guys in France are nothing along the lines like a Deshaun Watson. They're not that franchise guys.
We would still be able to create cap to do that. And ultimately, I could see the Steelers re-signing Chucks. I could see the Steelers remaining with Kendrick Green and just filling in the left guard or right guard position.
That's still band-aiding the situation.
I agree.
Except you get a better guard, maybe.
I agree, but it's...
And that's my argument with going into next year with the same team, but with Deshaun Watson. And yeah, we made the playoffs, but barely.
But it's Deshaun Watson.
I get it's Deshaun Watson. I understand it. He's a great player. Don't get me wrong. I don't know if I'm trading all that capital for one guy. If I'm going to be honest, when I'd rather fix the entire team, build the foundation around the quarterback.
Right. But I think we would still be able to have capabilities to do that via the draft, via cap space, via free agency.
Maybe. I don't know.
Now,
I really don't know what the Steelers do or what the Steelers are potentially thinking about doing or wanting to do.
Well, Deshaun Watson said on Twitter, when you stand on the truth, the Lord will free you. He said that after he was after he was not criminally charged. And then 10 minutes ago, Ray McLeod on Twitter just put, yes, sir. I don't know what the hell that means. I'm going to...
Well, as of now, Ray ain't a Steeler.
I know he's not, but who knows? Hey, maybe he might get resigned. Maybe they know something. And yeah, okay, listen, again, I do not believe the Steelers are going to trade for Watson. I don't think the Texans are trading him to the AFC. I could see him going to the Seahawks, the Panthers, the Vikings. I could totally see the Giants. I think he's
maybe the Saints. Did you say the Saints?
Maybe the Saints too. But I'm still going to be cautiously optimistic just because, you know what, it's the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm in the boat to which I'm not expecting it. I'd rather the Steelers actually surprise me than have my optimism be at roof level, and then it doesn't happen, and I'd be very disappointed. I'm just going to wait and see what the Steelers do. If it happens, I'd be utterly shocked. And I'd be interested to see what the Steelers would give away for Watson. I think that's my thing right here. Like, listen, I would not mind Watson one bit. I'm not saying I don't want him. I want Deshaun Watson.
Okay.
I just don't know about how much they're going to give up, even if it's not the best
I don't
offer.
think the Steelers would have to trade that much because
it's still going to be a bargain.
It's Watson's call.
It's still going to be a big bargain. You know it is. You know Houston's going to want some bargain.
Of course they are, but
they're not just going to give him away for a bag of potatoes and a broken piece of glass.
But it's Watson's call.
We'll see what happens.
It's Watson's call. We don't have to give him the best offer.
But hey, nonetheless, this Watson, trade rumors,
it's getting crazy.
They're rising up.
They are officially underway. Jamin Zeno with a $1.99 super chat says message retracted. Well, I appreciate the $2 super chat. Same thing with Steel Rick with a $2 super chat says Bobby Wagner would be excellent. Sign him. I'm torn between Bobby Wagner, and we're going to get into that right now as we talk about the Steelers Free Agency Wishlist. We got all the other news out. We talked about Watson, all that, right? Now we're going to officially get into the Steelers Free Agency Wishlist that we have added. We're going to go from all the way quarterback down to safety. We're going to start with the offense. Quarterback. Now, as much as I would love Deshaun Watson, again, I do not see that happening. Thus, I would just sign a quarterback in free agency and move on. And who would I want? Either Marcus Mariota, as you guys seen in the thumbnail, or Mitchell Trubisky, mostly. One of those two, mostly. Because I think those two guys still give the Steelers exactly what they want at the quarterback position. They got that first-round pedigree that is mobile, that can win you football games, that can still lead you to the playoffs, that will keep you in contention and keep you competitive. I think that fits the mold perfectly. And like I always say, the Steelers is the best place for second chances. And with quarterback wide open, those two guys are definitely looking for starting roles.
Oh, without a doubt. Mariota, he never really turned out great for Tennessee like everybody hoped for, but he's still a capable starting quarterback. He does have playoff experience. Same thing with Mitchell Trubisky. Never lived up to the potential.
No.
But then again, you got Matt Nagy as your head coach, and I mean, who the hell's going to succeed with Matt Nagy?
And I was a little impressed with Trubisky toward the end of his run in Chicago before he signed under Brian DeBull's offense in Buffalo.
And with the backup to Josh Allen, who knows, maybe Josh Allen gave some of that magic to Mitchell. I don't freaking know.
I would love either Marcus Mariota or Mitchell Trubisky. Those are my top two options when I look at quarterbacks for the Steelers to sign the battle with Mason and
Dwayne
Rudolph.
Haskins. You said Mason and Rudolph.
Yeah, Mason and Haskins.
This is why twins exist.
Yes, exactly. It's a blessing and a curse. But I also wouldn't mind Jameis Winston and Teddy Bridgewater. I would not mind that. That'd be a decent consolation prize if we weren't to get either Mariota or Trubisky, in my opinion.
Yeah, and those are two other guys with first-round pedigrees to which the Steelers absolutely love. They're capable starters. They're fine caliber guys, which I don't think Winston does have playoff experience. I don't think he does.
He has a little playoff experience when he was the Saints backup. That's it. That's it.
But so does Bridgewater, to which when he was the Vikings quarterback and obviously Saints quarterback.
Right.
So there's some playoff experience in there when it comes to quarterback.
Now, this guy is not on my wish list, but I will throw it out there because it's been shown on Twitter, and there is a lot of lines that point to this guy. And I would not like this guy whatsoever. I would not want the Steelers to sign him. I think that'd be worst-case scenario. Jacoby Brissett has been mentioned around. He's familiar with Matt Canada and Friedman Jackson as they were all together at NC State before Brissett got drafted to the Patriots.
To which Brissett, I mean, he has plenty of starting experience. He started 2 seasons basically for the Colts.
And Brissett, I first of all, the Steelers, I get their connections and all that, and most of that could be a benefit when it comes to the defensive side of the ball, which we'll get into later regarding around Brian Flores. This one would not. I would not sign Brissett. But mostly, Mariota, Trubisky are my two guys. Now, running back, I do think the Steelers should sign a number 2 running back. I don't see Mike Tomlin doing a running back tandem or a running back committee because he rarely does. He's always been the guy to run his running back into the ground or run it till the wheels fall off, as he says. He did it with Parker. He did it with Connor. He did it with Bell. Hopefully, Najee doesn't end the same way. But I would still love a number 2 running back, especially with Kalen Ballage, a free agent, and who knows what's going to happen with Anthony McFarland and Benny Snell.
The guys that are just not capable of being number 2 backs. And,
No.
And knock on wood, if Najee were to go down, you can basically kiss the offense goodbye.
Yeah.
Because Najee basically is one of, if not the main piece of the Steelers offense.
Exactly.
And so you would have to, I would hope the Steelers would go into free agency and get a very, very dependable number 2. And we got some options here on this list. One of them is definitely Marlon Mack. I'm a big fan of Marlon Mack. I think he's a capable number 2. I always thought he was a very, very talented running back coming out of college. And he was very, very good for the Colts before they got Jonathan Taylor.
Right. So he was a guy that was being tossed around for trade rumors before the trade deadline last year. Ultimately, he didn't find a partner. He'll be a free agent. He's definitely going to walk. I don't know why the Colts would sign the guy. So he's going to be a free agent. I wouldn't mind bringing him in as a number 2. The main guy I really do want, realistically, as a number 2 is J.D. McKissic. Had success with the Seahawks, had success with the football team / Commanders. I think this guy has the tools to be a great number 2 for Najee. He has all the tools. He can run in the backfield. He can catch out the backfield. He's pass protection.
He's one of the typical guys that the Steelers would definitely want to get in their offense. You know, someone that basically can do it all. And McKissic has definitely proven that a lot.
He worked greatly with Antonio Gibson with the Commanders the last couple years. So I would love J.D. McKissic. And, of course, the one name everyone's hoping for, I don't think it's going to happen, but who knows? He might return to Pittsburgh. He might come home. James Conner.
Boy, would I love James Conner to come back. Would I love to see number 30 on that offense again.
Yeah, or number 6. Maybe he wears number 6.
Maybe. Well, no, because isn't Harvey number 6?
Oh, yeah, you're right. But
so 30 would still be open, but, I mean, I would love James Conner. But I know for a fact if he were to come back, he would not be used the same way he was used in Arizona.
Honestly, and I love Conner to death, Conner would be stupid to leave Arizona.
He would because, dude, they fit him perfectly. He's not the main back, and he doesn't get explosive yardage or many yardage. But, man, when you need a touchdown, James Conner's your guy. It's one of the reasons why he made the Pro Bowl again.
Exactly. However, you know, the Cardinals have 2 running backs. They're going to be free agents. Both are their number 1 and 2. James Conner and Chase Edmonds. So I can only imagine them resigning one. That should be Conner, seeing how explosive he made their offense and how reliable he was and how many points he got him in the first half of the season. So Chase Edmonds could be a nice consolation prize if we weren't able to get a guy like Conner back or J.D. McKissic. Another guy I'll toss out there is Sony Michel. First-round pedigree, could come in as number 2. He worked pretty well for the Patriots and last year specifically for the Rams as a rotational guy when, what's his name, went down? Cam Akers.
Yeah, Cam Akers, when they had Sony Michel and Darrell Henderson before Akers came back. But if I remember correctly, the Steelers were very interested in Sony Michel back before he was drafted by the Patriots in the first round.
Right.
So if he's a free agent, I can absolutely see the Steelers looking to potentially bring him in as number 2.
And I'd like to see, Michel back, kind of in a rivalry with Nick Chubb as they used to be college teammates. He actually got selected over Chubb, so I think that'd be kind of cool to add. But Sony Michel's another guy I'll toss out there. But I think the Steelers, low-key, need to grab a number 2 running back.
Oh, for sure, because if I'm going to be honest, and there's some decent backs in this upcoming draft, I'm not up for drafting a running back.
No,
I'm really not.
There's certain guys out there that I like. There's James Cook, Dalvin's brother. There's Damian Pierce. There's many guys. I mean, the day 3 guys you can get are nice, but our records for day 3 guys aren't successful. And Jalen Samuels, Anthony McFarland, Benny Snell. I mean, these bums, dude. Like,
man, dude, these day 3 projects at running back, I pass up on it. I really would. Just go into free agency and sign a guy for at least a year.
They should go the LeGarrette Blount or D'Angelo Williams route where they sign a number 2.
Yeah,
please. You need that insurance.
Please.
And you need to rotate your backs. Wide receiver. Juju's a receiver. Obviously, Ray Ray's a receiver. Juju's a free agent.
Yes. Ray Ray's a free agent, and James Washington is a free agent.
So we're going to need a receiver. I don't know if Juju's back. I don't know if Ray Ray's back. Honestly, I was confident Ray Ray would be resigned by now.
So what she still could, it's not out the realm of possibility.
No,
it could happen tonight. It could happen tomorrow. It could happen very, very soon. I don't know. I fully expect Ray Ray to come back. Juju, I honestly don't know. That's anybody's guess. He's obviously got interest from the Chiefs. From the Eagles.
I think the Cowboys as well, although they just traded Cooper and they're about to assign Michael Gallup to a big deal. So I don't know.
And James Washington, he's already on his way out the door, if not already.
Yeah, so James Washington's definitely gone. But receiver, DJ Chark is the guy I'll toss out there. I know he could get a big deal, but because of his injury last year, I don't know. So there's a chance he might want to reunite with Matt Canada from their LSU days. Demarcus Robinson is a former Chiefs receiver that could work well as a number 4 or 5, could work special teams. Byron Pringle, who remembers him last year when he got 4 touchdowns on us between the regular season and the postseason.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind him. Or Zay Jones, former second-round pick from the Bills, recently worked with the Raiders. I wouldn't mind either of those guys to be brought in as a nice number 4, number 5 depth piece.
Yeah, 4 quality receivers with decent size, good speed, reliable hands for the most part. Veteranship, definitely, that the receiving group could definitely use.
Right.
I wouldn't mind either of these 4 guys one bit.
Now, before we get into the offensive line, I want to check in with the chat. Bob Yeager says Mike Davis, Atlanta. I would love Mike Davis.
Yeah, that's another name. Absolutely.
He worked greatly with Christian McCaffrey before he went to the Falcons last year. So I'd bring in Mike Davis for sure if it's a solid deal. Lady Steel says Philip Lindsay.
That's another name too. Yes. Philip Lindsay.
Great underdog story. Back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons for the Broncos. I don't know why they got rid of him.
Well, looking at it right now, I mean, they got Javonte Williams, who's going to be a gem, but
true.
Yeah, it was still stupid at the time. It really was. Like with Lindsay's story and how he was working his way up the depth chart as an undrafted free agent, the seasons he's had, it's like, why would you not try to run the ball more or give the ball more to this guy, especially with what they were dealing with at quarterback at the time?
And he brings the speed we need in the backfield, so I wouldn't mind Lindsay whatsoever, honestly.
Yeah, these are some good names popping up. Real good names.
Bob Yeager says Gage, Russell Gage from the Falcons. He obviously has experience with Matt Canada as well from the LSU days, man. I wouldn't mind bringing him in.
Potentially. But I would have to imagine he'd probably stay in Atlanta with Matt Ryan, and he'd probably be the number 1 now after what happened with Calvin Ridley.
Well, before the draft, yes.
Yeah.
Before the draft. But I don't know. We shall see. We shall see.
That's another option. I would like Gage. I really would.
Ryan Gorley says, how about the wide receiver from the Cardinals? If you're talking about Christian Kirk, I don't know if he'll take a depth deal. I think he's going to get a pretty decent, solid contract to be a number 2 somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, Christian Kirk definitely broke out in his last year. I would have to imagine he's going to want maybe up to $10 or more million.
I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to the Patriots or something, just because they're desperate.
Hey, they need some sort of reliability, and Kirk showed that last year for sure.
Right. Damon King says, bring AB back? Nah, hard pass. Hard pass.
I'm good. He can try to buy some sort of franchise with Kanye West. Apparently that's
the Broncos.
Yeah, that's what he said.
They're not buying the Broncos.
They can give it a try, His career's basically, run its course. He can try whatever now. I don't care as long as it doesn't affiliate with the Steelers. So
yeah, pretty much. Has anyone seen that clip of him and Ryan Clark in the same room? That was fucking crazy.
Yeah, back them discussing their brawl in practice.
Yeah, man.
And the argument was here. That was crazy.
Now we're gonna get into the offensive line, as this is the most important part, the most important vocal point of what the Steelers should focus on, is where they should spend most of their cap. We're going to start with the guards. We're going to need a guard. Trey Turner, I believe, is gone. We still have Kevin Dotson, but we don't have a starter opposite. That you could move Green to guard, but you still need competition. Plus, I don't know if they do move Green to guard. I don't know yet. I don't know what they do with the entire offensive line. But guards that could be options, and I would love to be options. And we're going to go with the older options right now, okay? We're going to start with the older options. It's Andrew Norwell, Laken Tomlinson, or recently released Roger Saffold. Those are older options. They're not going to be long-term solutions, but maybe in the draft they grab someone and develop him under the aging guy.
Or if they were to put Green back to guard and have him battle, maybe continue his development, potentially.
That could work too.
That could be an option. I wouldn't mind either of these 3 one bit. Veteranship there, leadership on the offensive line as well, to which I feel like we drastically need, because we don't have that.
And all have succeeded in run-heavy schemes. Norwell, especially with the Panthers when they had Jonathan Stewart, and, of course, recently with the Jags, Laken Tomlinson with the Niners, and Saffold recently with I think
it's Tennessee.
I think it was Tennessee. He was with the Rams, then he went to Tennessee. So they've all had experience. They're aging. They're not long-term guys, but good veteranship that I think the line needs and could develop a guard for the future.
Yeah.
Or the Steelers could go younger and get the best of both worlds, guys with experience and guys with youth and guys that could be long-term solutions. You could go younger with a guy like James Daniels, who's been very successful for the Bears. You could put him at left or right guard.
Yeah, someone that I would actually really like for the Steelers. I think as of right now, he's still 24, so he's still extremely young. And he's still learning the ropes here and there.
Finding someone with that much experience and someone still young is rare. That's why I kind of see the Steelers re-signing Chucks, and in a way, I'm more open to it now.
Yeah, and I'm right here with Dan. I've grown more into extending Chucks to maybe a 2-year deal.
Right, but a guy like James Jones would be a home run signing for sure.
No, I definitely like that a lot. I think he's done very well for the Bears.
And if there's a guy, they definitely got to grab to rebuild the line. And when I mean rebuild, I mean get a guy with experience that's dominant and can be a long-term solution. It's James Daniels. Or you could go with Austin Corbett, who was a former second-round pick for the Browns before he got traded to the Rams, completely helped out his career. And he's going to be a free agent. We all know the Rams have so many free agents to work with. Von Miller, Odell Beckham, Darius Williams, amongst others.
Yeah, so a lot of free agents, so they can't keep everybody.
So Corbett could be gone, and I think he would be another home run signing for the Steelers.
Yeah, and I see that all these guys that we listed here are very good with run-heavy offenses, to which is what I'm hoping, and it's one of the reasons why we drafted Najee Harris, is to get back to running the ball very effectively. A very old-school Steelers play style on offense. Something that I really hope they go back to.
So I'd hope they go for the younger options, like a Daniels or a Corbett. More specifically, but if they want to go with a little bit of a veteran option and develop a guy like a Kendrick Green or a rookie, then you could get a guy like Norwell Tomlinson or Saffold.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Just a temporary fix to develop a guy, but I hope they get the best of all worlds with a young option.
Yeah.
Now we're going to go to the tackles. Now, again, I'm starting to think the Steelers do bring back Chucks under a cheap deal. I'd hope it's a cheap deal. That's the only reason why I would welcome him back is under a cheap deal. But maybe some extra veteranship could do wonders. Now, Chuck, similar to Daniels and Corbett, Chuck is a guy that is still very young and has a ton of experience, which is, again, rare. But maybe we do go out the way and grab a tackle. Now, the tackle field, specifically right tackle, because I doubt they're going to look at left tackles. Dan Moore has that locked up. Terran Armstead's going to get a big contract, probably with the Bengals, if I'm being real with you.
Fingers crossed. So I hope not.
So we're going to look at right tackles specifically. And probably the top name on there is Trent Brown.
And Trent Brown, he's a big dude. He's played in the NFL for quite some time. He was a former late-round selection for the Niners before going to the Patriots, signing a big deal with the Raiders, and then ultimately being traded back to the Patriots.
Right.
And Trent Brown, I like him. The only thing that I'm not fond of him is his injury concerns.
Exactly. That's the only issue with Trent Brown. He's a little undependable.
He's a little injury-prone here and there.
But when he's on the field, he's a top tackle. He's a mauler. He's aggressive, and he's someone you can depend on. If you can depend on his health, that's the only option. Another option is Morgan Moses, who I think the Steelers should have made a move for him last year instead of band-aiding right tackle with Zach Banner last year before ultimately having to switch Chucks back to right and inserting Dan Moore at left. Morgan Moses would be a solid signing to fill in right tackle. The only issue with those two guys is obviously they're aging, so they're not going to be long-term solutions.
No.
So unless you want to develop a guy you could get in the draft or whatever, they would just be temporary fixes.
And I could see that as a possible option as well. But, I mean, I was all for potentially getting Moses. I just knew the Steelers weren't going to get him because they were fine with who they have. But this time around, I feel like if Moses is available and if he's in the right price range, you definitely go out and get a capable starting right tackle, to which he was last year for the Jets.
Right.
The Jets were awful, but Moses was very, very good.
Or we could go with a little bit of a cheaper option. Now, I don't know if this guy would be long-term, but he's reliable enough. He was for the Chiefs as a right guard, right tackle. Definitely improved a lot last year. Andrew Wiley. He's pretty young. He has experience. He has position versatility, so you can put him at guard or tackle, preferably tackle, because that's where he started the last couple of years and has done well and improved. So he could be a nice undermining signing that totally speaks Steelers.
Yeah, absolutely speaks Steelers. And he has done well for the Chiefs. He was a pretty reliable pass protector for Mahomes and a decent run blocker too.
So those are options. I'll also add Leo Collins. Now, there are trade talks for Leo Collins. So whoever trades for him is only got to pay $10 million for the next 3 years, so it's not that bad of a bargain for a guy like Collins who's still only 28.
Yeah, he's still got a few good years, actually, in my honest opinion.
The only issue with Collins is he was out all of 2020, and he was suspended the first 4 games this year for trying to pay off some a drug tester or something.
Yeah, I actually forgot all about that. Thanks for reminding me. So that does carry a bit of baggage. Now, I don't know if he does get traded because I heard if the Cowboys can't trade him, they'll just likely release him.
Right. That's why I add him in here. And I wouldn't mind Collins, but again, his undermining issues might, push us away from a guy like Collins.
But he's an option. He is a very possible option to which the Steelers could definitely look at. They could look at a lot of options right here.
Right.
But especially right tackle, it's something that they have to take care of, for sure.
As do they with center, in our opinion. I don't know if they do. They still might trust Kendrick Green, but we're still going to talk centers. Ryan Jensen is probably the top of the list when it comes to O-line, free agents, or even free agents overall.
And Jensen, man, before Tom Brady came, he was a pretty good center, but when Brady came, he just really, really stocked his career up.
Oh, as did that entire O-line.
Like Ryan Jensen, and apparently I read a couple days ago the Steelers are really interested in Ryan Jensen. And I know he's going to be worth a pretty penny. He's going to be very expensive, but I feel like if the Steelers, they use the cap right, they spend the cap money well, I think they have the capability to get this guy.
If Jensen, if the Steelers can be a little more aggressive, I would love the addition of Jensen because I think we need a veteran aspect on the line, specifically on the interior line, and that's at center. He wouldn't be a long-term solution. He's in his 30s. He wouldn't be a long-term guy, but I think he'd be a solid fill-in to add veteranship to the line locker room to help out these young guys. It's a very young O-line, which I can imagine is only going to get younger in the draft. So getting a guy like Jensen could bring a lot of experience, which I wouldn't mind, as would a Matt Paradis.
Now, this guy is who I'm actually expecting the Steelers to at least interview because our offensive line coach, Pat Meyer, was actually the Panthers' offensive line coach for the past couple of years, and Paradis was their starting center. So I would have to think, that would probably spark some interest for Paradis to potentially want to come to Pittsburgh and continue to work with Meyer.
I would imagine so. Those connections work really well in free agency and in every aspect of the game. So
now I remember Paradis when he was a Bronco. He was a hell of a center. He worked his way up, and he got a big money contract when he signed with the Panthers, to which he hasn't really been that great of a center, but he is still a starting caliber center and a capable starting center as well.
And again, same with Jensen, would be a veteran guy that would benefit this O-line. As would Ben Jones. Now, I don't know if we actually go out the way and grab a guy like Ben Jones, but I'll toss it out there as he's another veteran guy. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, same thing with guard or tackle, whatever. I hope they go a little younger so you get the best of all worlds. And at center, you could go after a guy like Bradley Bozeman, who was recently the Ravens center. He was a guard, then he switched to center last year and did really well. And he's still young. That would be a very undermining signing by Colbert. Or you could go after a guy like Ted Karras, who has a lot of connections to Brian Flores. Now, I know Flores works on the opposite side of the ball, but I think that connection could draw interest for Karras to come to Pittsburgh as their possible center, as a swing guy. He worked really well the last 2 years at center when he was with the Dolphins and when he reunited with the Patriots.
Yeah.
So
and Karras is a hell of a center in my honest opinion, if you ask me. Like Karras, I feel like if we were to obtain him, I think it'd be a great addition to this offensive line. I think Karras is pretty underrated. I really do.
I think, yeah. I mean, on that O-line of the Pats that has a little bit of experience and youth at the same time, he really benefited for them last year.
Yeah.
So those are guys we added for the offensive line specifically. Now, again, I don't know if the Steelers are actually going to sign any of these guys, or I'm not expecting them to go out and sign most of these guys, but this is just our wish list.
Yeah, just a couple guys to definitely keep an eye on for sure that the Steelers could potentially at least interview. At least I hope so.
I would hope so. They have cap to work with. Now, again, the Steelers have been a little quiet, at least in resigning their own guys from last year. So hopefully we get some more stuff coming out before free agency hits.
And even in free agency, the Steelers tend to be very quiet. They basically let
the other.
They're basically one of the people like if you're a kid in the lunchroom where you're in the back of the line and all the cool kids get all the pizza and stuff and you're left with
celery. Celery.
Yeah, exactly. That's how we are. But I'm kind of hoping this time around that we kind of get pushed into the front of the line and get something special. At least one guy. I'm not expecting a big splash. I'm not expecting multiple splashes. I'm just kind of hoping for one.
Right.
if you ask me. But we'll see what the Steelers do when it comes to the offense.
As for the defense, we're gonna go right to the defense. Interior defensive line. Now, we still need D-line depth. We still need D-line dependability. You look at our D-line now. Let's say it all pans out like we want it to. Let's say Hayward obviously is going to return. Let's say Tuitt does come back. We have Alu returning for one more year before he probably hangs it up. And then you still have Chris Wormley as a backup. You got Loudermilk. You got the Davis twins. Montravius Adams has yet to resign a contract. So hopefully he does, but still. But outside of that, I love it. I love the D-line core. I think it's near elite if everything it goes right and everyone's healthy. But there's still a little undependability there, especially with Tuitt and Alu was injuries, and Carlos Davis was on IR most of last year.
Yeah.
And Adams has yet to resign, so I don't know. And Loudermilk, there's promise with him, but he's still young.
Yeah.
So we still need a veteran aspect on the defensive line, specifically for depth.
And some dependability there, too.
Right.
Last year we saw that did not help us whatsoever.
No, it did not.
Nobody did.
I mean, that's why we picked up a guy like Adams. We were so desperate. So maybe they go out the way and grab a defensive lineman, a defensive tackle specifically, to add more dependability, more veteran aspect to it. A guy like Harrison Phillips, who I'd absolutely love. Second round, I believe it was a second round pick for the Bills, second or third round pick out of Stanford, and has completely worked his way up alongside a pretty solid defensive line, alongside guys like Ed Oliver for the Bills last year.
Oh, yeah.
So he could come in and be a solid fill-in. Nice little depth piece, could work his way up.
It would definitely work on rotations, too, for sure.
Right. Larry Ogunjobi. Now, this is an interesting name because he was a former Brown before he got signed to the Bengals last year. I'm anticipating him getting a big contract because he's a starting guy. I'd love us to bring him in, and I doubt this would have any effect on us signing him, but let's not forget he was also part of the Myles Garrett, Mason Rudolph issue there.
Yeah, that whole debacle.
But again, I doubt that would cause any disruption in anything there. I would hope we get a guy like Ogunjobi. I think he's a great nose tackle. I think he's a great run stopper.
He's a very underrated defensive player overall, but I would have to imagine, based on what he's done so far in his career, he's definitely going to want a big money contract for another team, or maybe even an extension with Cincinnati.
Yeah, or maybe that could be the same thing could be said for one of his backups, B.J. Hill, former Giant. Then he went to the Bengals last year, worked really well in rotations. I would welcome a B.J. Hill.
Yeah.
Or we could go after a first-round pedigree guy in Solomon Thomas, former first-round pick, third overall?
Third overall for the Niners, and obviously he did not work out well.
No, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe last year he was mostly a rotational piece for the Raiders and did solid. So because of that first-round pedigree, that could attract the Steelers to sign a guy like him. They love their first-round pedigree, especially in the defensive guys. Remember a few years ago at one point we had like 7 or 8 first-round starters.
I think we still have some of those names actually on the team right now.
Yeah.
But Thomas is another guy that could spark some interest from the Steelers, a guy that definitely works on rotations, to which I think he's best at that.
Right.
I think that's what's best for him, is to definitely work on rotations, to which the Steelers like to do all the time.
And he reminds me of Chris Wormley, a guy that can work as a DN, D tackle. He's a jack of all trades pretty much.
Yeah.
A good guy in rotations, and has the first-round pedigree that would totally attach the Steelers to him. Now, one guy I seriously hope that the Steelers do sign, this is my secret free agent crush, if I'm being real with you, Tim Settle.
Tim Settle of the Washington Commanders, man, this guy, you want to talk about underrated. This guy is severely underrated.
He was buried under one hell of a defensive line core for Washington for many years. Dayron Payne. You had who else did you have on that line? You had Matt Ioannidis. You had so many other guys that I'm sure I'm totally missing, but those guys specifically got time over him, and rightfully so. So he got buried under a defensive line core. However, anytime he saw time on the field, he very much impressed. In fact, I'm seeing many tweets and replies from Washington fans that want this guy re-signed and Dayron Payne to be traded, or Matt Ioannidis to be cut, because they love the potential of Settle so much. And a guy like Settle is so incredibly young and shows so much promise in such a limited time, and is just waiting for an opportunity. Also, he is from Virginia Tech. You know Tomlin loves his Virginia Tech guys.
And I remember after we sustained our first loss 2 years ago to the football team at the time, Settle was actually a big factor into why we lost, and Tomlin gave him so much praise. So you got to think Tomlin still has that interest for Tim Settle if he's available.
I would hope so. This is my secret free agent crush when it comes to the defense is Tim Settle. I think he's a great young piece that could definitely build up this defensive line and possibly compete for a starting role, but start as a backup and then work his way up and possibly take the job from Alu when Alu either hangs him up, unfortunately goes down, or just completely takes it from him overall.
No, I would love Tim Settle. I really would.
That's my secret free agent defensive crush.
Yeah, man. He's so young. He's so talented. He's fast. He's strong. He's a hell of a player, man. So underrated.
I hope the connections adds or kind of attracts the Steelers to a guy like Tim Settle to build on a young and ferocious defensive line. Now we're going to go to edge. Edge is still an undermining position the Steelers will have to focus on just because of depth. Our depth is pretty weak. I think Taco Charlton's still a free agent, and we have yet to sign him as of now. So
even before we had him, we were playing back and forth of who we wanted as an edge backup. With the Ingram experiment that didn't work, and Jameer Jones, who we didn't keep, and freaking the giant now, the 6th-round pick we had.
Quincy Roche.
Yes, thank you. That guy. We drafted him, and he didn't even make the team. So our edge last year, we were juggling that player around.
At one point,
who to be the main edge guy.
At one point, we had Melvin Ingram and Jameer Jones starting versus the Bengals, in which we got 0 sacks in that game. Yeah, we need to fill in edge. We desperately need to fill in edge depth, and I'm only going to list 3 guys because on the edge free agent list, there's not a lot of guys that speak out to me. There's some aging guys like a Justin Houston. There's Melvin Ingram again, but we all know he's not going to return to Pittsburgh. I mean, there's guys out there we can bring in. Maybe a Ryan Kerrigan, right? Steelers showed interest in Ryan Kerrigan last year before he ultimately signed with the Eagles.
Oh, hell, I'll even throw this guy's name out there, Dante Fowler, who got cut by the Falcons, but I would have to imagine he'd want a starting gig.
Right. Maybe. He's also a first-round pedigree guy, but as is the guys we listed here, Charles Harris, former first-round pick out of the Dolphins, and didn't really impress. Ultimately signed a 1-year prove-it deal with the Lions last year and led his career in sacks, 7.5. So I think he could come in and be a nice rotational piece. He has that first-round pedigree the Steelers like, and I think in a rotational way, he could work very well for the team.
Yeah, and another guy on the list is Takaris McKinley, a former first-round selection by the Falcons, someone that I really liked coming out of college. I think he came from UCLA.
Right.
Someone that I really, really liked a lot. Someone that I was actually hoping the Steelers would pick up. Obviously, it didn't happen. He obviously didn't work out in Atlanta. He didn't really become a full-fledged starter. Sometimes he got injured. Sometimes he just underperformed. And then I think most recently he was the backup to the Browns.
Right.
So, I mean, he's got, capabilities to be a nice edge depth piece for sure. I still like McKinley. He's still a bit young. He's definitely got some veteranship to him, starting caliber guy at times. I wouldn't mind him to be potential edge depth.
Yeah, and I know we sound like a broken record here, but it's a serious attraction for Tomlin and the Steelers. First-round pedigree is serious there. Jamie Collins. Jamie Collins was just recently cut by the Patriots after just going back and forth with teams. The Patriots, then he went to the Browns, then he went to the Lions, I think, then back to the Patriots. Now he's a free agent again. Could that lead him back to Brian Flores? Now, Brian Flores was only his linebacker coach for like half the season before he got traded to the Browns in 2016, I believe, or was it 2017? One of those years. But Flores was still the secondary coach in Collins' early years in New England. So he still has that familiarity with Flores. So could that lead him back to
Brian Flores,
right?
To potentially come to Pittsburgh.
Could that lead to the Steelers signing a guy like him, someone with experience, someone that can work as an edge guy, he can work off the ball? I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, it's a possible option. It's not out the realm of possibility. It's really not. And Collins, who is aging, I mean, it's really possible with his age. I don't know how much of a starting caliber guy he really is anymore.
Right.
So it's possible if he's up to taking an edge role. Or a depth role at edge, maybe.
Right. Another guy that obviously has connections with a Brian Flores, and I know we sound like broken records saying that a lot, and it's not going to be the last time we say that. Dante Hightower, as we get into the inside linebackers. Now, Dante Hightower is an aging guy. He's a little slower now. He's not the same Dante Hightower, but that connection with Flores could attract him, and he could be a nice veteran piece to a very young inside linebacking core.
And let's not forget, back in 2016 or 2017.
It was one of those off seasons where the Steelers actually had an offer on the table to Dante Hightower in Pittsburgh. And he said, if you leave, offer's off the table. And Hightower left and re-signed with New England. So there is interest there. And now you bring in Flores as the linebacker coach. I mean, all of the lines could match up.
And that interest could still be there. You know, Hightower could very well just fall right back into potentially being interviewed again maybe to the Steelers, especially if Flores here. Because I said earlier, Flores, being in addition to the Steelers as a senior defensive linebackers coach, it doesn't just help our young linebackers in their development, but it helps us potentially acquiring some of these free agents that have former affiliations with Flores.
Since another guy like that is Kyle Vanoy, who is now a free agent once again. He was a Patriot, then he went to the Dolphins, then back to the Patriots.
And before he went to the Patriots, he was a Lions guy before he went to the Patriots. And because of the development from Brian Flores, Kyle Vanoy really, really rose his stock in his career. He really broke out.
And then when he first got released by the Patriots, that connection obviously led him down to Miami, where obviously Flores had the head coaching job. Now, that could be the same story with him to Pittsburgh. I wouldn't mind a guy like Kyle Vanoy, a run stuffer, a guy that can defend the pass, a guy that can totally blitz. So another aging guy that could fill in and add veteran aspect to a very young inside linebacking core.
It's possible.
Those are two guys that have connections with Flores that we're going to add. On to two other guys, though. Bobby Wagner.
Yeah, Bobby Wagner surprisingly got cut by the Seattle Seahawks the same day as they traded away Russell Wilson to the Denver Broncos.
Why? I have no clue. They are in rebuild mode. They may not admit it, but they are literally tearing that team down. Tyler Lockett's on the trade block now.
I mean, Pete Carroll's definitely got something in mind. What it is, we'll just have to wait and see.
It could be Watson. I don't know.
But Bobby Wagner, surprisingly, after 10 years with the Seahawks, he is no longer going to be their starting linebacker. He's no longer going to be their defensive leader.
He is no longer the leader of what was an iconic Legion of Boom defense.
And he's a free agent. And the Steelers, according to Aditi Kinkawala a couple days ago, they are one of the teams that are very interested in Bobby Wagner.
And there's a lot of teams, too. There are a lot of teams that are interested in Wagner. I don't know exactly where he signs. No one knows. I'm personally anticipating the Cowboys just because of Dan Quinn. But bringing in a guy like Wagner, I mean, imagine what wonders that would do for the linebacking core. Now, we mentioned Dante Hightower, Kyle Vanoy, but they're not on the level of a Bobby Wagner in terms of play on the field and leadership and definitely impact to, once again, a young inside linebacking core.
Yeah.
Now, he is aging. He's in his 30s. He's in his he's in his lower 30s. So, he's not, and believe me, none of these guys are going to be long-term fixes. They're just going to primarily fill in and be a great veteran aspect to a young linebacking core, which I'm fine with. And I wouldn't mind that whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Bobby Wagner.
That's what our linebacker core actually needs.
But I think Bobby Wagner still plays at a high level.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously not the all-star or all-pro guy like he was, I want to say 3 years ago. But he's still very dependable. He's still very capable of getting tackles, getting in coverage, getting turnovers, causing turnovers to help the defense.
And his presence alone just absolutely hurts an offensive game plan. So,
and for a guy that's I think he's only 6 foot. He does so much.
He's like a pit bull. When I watch this guy, he's like a pit bull. He's a player, man. So Bobby Wagner, I mean, I wouldn't mind it for a nice 1-2 year deal for Wagner to bring that veteran aspect to a linebacking core.
Yeah.
Same thing with Jordan Hicks. Jordan Hicks left the Eagles and signed with the Cardinals and has actually shown a little bit more dependability. He's actually been a little bit more healthy the last couple years with the Cardinals, and he's been an every down defensive player at inside linebacker. He was recently cut because of cap issues, and they already have their guys listed at inside linebacker in Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins, 2 first-rounders. So no need for Hicks at the moment.
There really ain't. But Jordan Hicks, throughout his career, he's been a great defensive player. He's been a very good leader, a hell of a freaking guy that can get turnovers, that is very speedy, that is a surefire tackler. Jordan Hicks is a guy that I was actually very hopeful the Steelers would sign when he was initially a free agent when he left Philly.
Right.
Until he ultimately went to Arizona. And that interest for me is still kind of there for Jordan Hicks, even with him aging. Because,
again, he's an every down guy. He's shown dependability the last few years compared to when he was with Philly, when he always get hurt. So He's a little bit more dependable now, and again, that veteran aspect is just something you have to add to linebackers.
Yeah.
But the only issue with all of them is the fact that they are all aging, so they're not long-term fixes. But I do, and I would appreciate the veteran aspect from those guys,
and the leadership aspect as well,
for sure. But the only reason why I'm not pounding the table for any of these guys is because linebacker is incredibly deep in the draft.
Yeah. It definitely is. There's a lot of names I like. There's a lot of guys I'm kind of hoping the Steelers do select. It really depends on what they do with inside linebacker because, again, Schobert is still with the team. He has not been cut yet, to which I'm starting to think since he hasn't been cut yet, although they save a good bit of money, I think almost $10 million if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
They're probably, in my honest opinion, I think they're trying to work on some sort of restructure.
Either a restructure or maybe he's part of a trade.
I don't know. I don't know how much.
Who that's for?
I don't know how much. I don't know what they'd honestly get. I mean,
I would take anything, a fifth, a sixth, something. I'd take anything, but I don't know.
I don't know what they do with Schobert. We're just gonna have to wait and see. And again, the uncertainty of Devin Bush is still there.
Right.
We're just gonna have to see what happens with inside linebacker. But those are just some of the names that we listed down that we're kind of hopeful the Steelers look into, that they could potentially look into.
Right.
We don't know.
Still Rick with a $2 super chat says, "Bring in Bobby." I wouldn't mind it, man. You know, I'm torn with a guy like him because of the fact he's aging, and I hope they don't overpay for what I think he isn't worth anymore. But that linebacking presence, that veteran presence, that veteranship is missed inside. Has been since Vince retired. So
yeah,
I wouldn't mind it, man. I'm torn, but I think the positives could outweigh the negatives there. Now we're going to get into the corners. The corners, which is another position I hope the Steelers make a splash on, but at the same time, I'm not pounding the table because corner is deep this year, although our resume of developing guys is not great. However, recently it has been. If you look at Mike Hilton, you look at Cam Sutton, you look at Witherspoon, I suppose, for this year. You look at Terrell Edmonds. Yes, I said Terrell Edmonds. You look at Minka. You look at... I suppose James Pierre, he's decent as a backup. You look at Trey Norwood. So it's pretty decent recently. So I wouldn't mind us waiting for corner in the draft if they were to. But corner's pretty deep this year when it comes to not only the draft, but more specifically free agency.
Yeah, Joe Hayden's definitely going to be on his way out for sure, at least in my honest opinion. We don't know what they do with Witherspoon yet. Fingers crossed they do extend him, but it's still, even if they were to bring back Witherspoon, it still shouldn't stop them to at least look at other options.
Right.
To stack up the corner group.
But what that tells me, though, what the Millette re-signing tells me is they're going to still have Sutton outside.
More than likely.
That's what that tells, because you have Norwood that could play in the slot, you could play him in the dime, but I think Millette adds that factor as well. So that tells me they're going to keep Sutton outside.
Yeah.
I think Hayden's gone, and I don't know what's up with Witherspoon. I hope we do resign Witherspoon, but like Rob said, we could still look at guys in free agency, which I hope they do. And although I said I wouldn't mind drafting a guy with how deep it is, I think our resume of getting guys in free agency compared to us drafting guys is much more superior. So these are guys I do hope they could definitely look at and possibly bring in. J.C. Jackson is the top name. I know he's going to get a big deal. He might get top corner money.
Dude, I have no doubt he will.
This is one of the most ball-hawking corners in the league as an undrafted guy, man. I think he could get $20+ million. And I don't know if I don't think any player's worth that.
No, definitely not. But JC, he's been so dependable every year since he's came in. He's been one of the top guys in the NFL to lead in interceptions.
But and again, I told you it's not going to be the last time we say it. The connection with Brian Flores. Very briefly, but still. Maybe.
I mean, it is there. It's just, are the Steelers going to be willing to pay that much for J.C. Jackson, who's arguably the top cornerback in this year's free agency?
But you know he's going to take a bigger deal with some team. I don't know who that is, but somewhere.
Some team's going to give him that money. I just don't know if it will be the Steelers. I
don't think it will be. However, a nice consolation prize would be a Carlton Davis, who apparently they shown interest in him. I don't know what to believe anymore. It's a sources war on Twitter from everybody. I don't know who to believe. But I would love a Carlton Davis, someone that's young, that's dependable, that has completely worked up his stock and completely worked up his play year by year, has been one of the guys on that Tampa Bay defense that's worked very well.
Oh, that's been so reliable. That's been able to get turnovers. That's done a great job at covering number one wide receivers.
I would love a Carlton Davis. I think he could come in and work opposite of a Sutton or a Witherspoon.
Oh, without a doubt. I would love Carlton Davis, someone that's very young. He is coming off an injury-plagued year, but I feel like if he gets to 100%, I don't think it's really going to play with his play style. I don't really think it's going to affect him. At least I hope not. I'd still be up for getting Davis in the black and gold for sure, though.
Or potentially a Darius Williams, who completely, stepped up as a number 2 opposite of Jalen Ramsey for the Rams. Yeah. He was their slot guy. Then they lost one of their outside guys a few years back. I forget who it was. They lost their other outside guy.
Wasn't that Marcus Peters?
I think you're right. It was Marcus Peters. And then he stepped in as the number 2. He's only 5'9", but can play outside. And that's very impressive.
It's crazy because he looks a lot bigger and a lot taller than his actual size. He plays a lot taller than he does, actually.
He plays that way. So Darius Williams will be nice. I can see him getting another big payday somewhere. Who that is, I don't know, but I wouldn't mind him.
No, he's definitely a solid option. Another guy is Panthers cornerback Dante Jackson.
Dante Jackson. I know he got benched a few years ago, and in a deep corner room that they had with obviously J.C. Horn, they had Stephon Gilmore after the trade last year. They had who else? Who was the starter? I forget who else they had. Wasn't it some veteran? I forget.
Yeah, I can't think of his name either. I think it was someone they signed. I can't remember. I really can't.
But he's a guy in 12 games, I think had 10 passes defended and 2 picks. So he's a guy that could be looking for a second chance and a new change of scenery and honestly can work outside.
Potentially, the guy's he's pretty reliable in my honest opinion. He's not, overall great, but he's a caliber starting cornerback. He's very speedy. He's very, very fast if you ask me.
Right.
He's a very dependable guy, and he's someone I can absolutely see the Steelers getting. They always get them, under the rock, kind of like
under the radar guys.
Yeah, thank you. Under the radar type of players, signings. Jackson just speaks that, if you ask me.
And he's a young guy, former second-round pick, so I can see it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind it, actually. Another guy I wouldn't mind. Now, I know he's plagued with injuries, but I loved him coming out of college. And if he were to stay healthy, he'd be one hell of a slot option. Tavon Young, recently released by the Ravens because of his undependability. His rookie year, though, showed us so much promise.
Yeah.
It's just a shame he can't stay healthy, but I don't know, man. Maybe his talent overweighs the injury aspect.
No, he definitely showcases a ton of talent, a ton of reliability as a slot corner. But with Millett being resigned, I just don't see the Steelers even showing any interest.
I don't either. But if I'm a team, I'm signing Tavon Young to a nice 1-year cheap prove-it deal.
Yeah.
And if he gets hurt again, then you know what? It's cheap. You can let him go. But maybe it's a low-risk, high-reward sort of deal with a guy like Young, who's young, has so much potential in the slot, but the injury aspect would allow you to bet on it. You know what I'm saying? His talent would allow you to bet on it, but the injury aspect.
He definitely has that talent, but yeah, that's a big question mark for Tavon Young.
But those are all young options. J.C. Jackson, Carlton Davis, Darius Williams, Dante Jackson, Tavon Young, they're all young options. But we could go with a nice veteran aspect for a nice 1-2 year deal opposite of a guy like Sutton and secure a nice starting guy opposite of Sutton Witherspoon. And the one top guy is Stephon Gilmore. Now, I was opposed to trading for this guy when he was on the trade block the past couple years, specifically because of his age and the cap number we would have to take for him. Now that he's a free agent, I'm a little bit more open because he still shows that high caliber play, but also because he's an agent guy, I'd only sign him to a nice 1-2 year deal.
And Gilmore, when he did get traded by the Patriots to the Panthers, excuse me, he actually did stick out. Like, I actually think in his first game, he
got a pick.
He got a pick. He was a big factor in which I think they won that game, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And Gilmore, he showcased some dependability still.
He can still play. He can still play at a really good level, can the former Defensive Player of the Year who we robbed T.J. Watt out of. But anyway, Stephon
I don't
Gilmore.
know. Maybe he comes to Pittsburgh and maybe they talk it out. I don't know. Maybe we get 2 Defensive Player of the Year type of guys on the defense. I wouldn't mind that one bit.
I would love that, actually.
And Gilmore, for his age, yeah, he's not. I don't think he's the Defensive Player of the Year type of player anymore.
No,
but he's still reliable, if you ask me.
He can still play at a high level for his age, and I bring him in for a nice 1-2 year deal to work with a young corner core. What will be a young corner core. So also, he obviously has a first round pedigree that the Steelers love, and he does have prior experience with Brian Flores as he was the secondary coach.
Yeah, Flores was before he went to linebackers coach.
So that could attract a guy like Gilmore to Pittsburgh. And who wouldn't want to work for Flores again? And, of course, Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
Now, last but not least, safety. And the only reason why I put safety is because of what could happen to Edmonds. I don't know if Edmonds gets re-signed. I still think he does. I would hope he does, to be real with you. But let's say he doesn't. We're going to have to fill strong safety opposite of Minka. And I would refill it with a veteran.
Definitely a veteran.
Number one is former Pitt guy Jordan Whitehead. Honestly, you could say he's an upgrade over Edmonds. I wouldn't disagree. I'd take either. I would be fine with re-signing Edmonds or swapping him for Whitehead. Whitehead is such an underrated safety in this league, and he is one of those guys on that Tampa defense just allows them to do everything that they can do on the defense. He can swap between him and Winfield and everything they do regarding playing in the box, playing deep safety. He is probably the best run-defending safety in the league, and obviously has that Pitt connection.
He really does, and Whitehead, very reliable, very, very good when he was with Tampa Bay.
And he's so young. Now, he might be a little bit more pricier than Edmonds, but the price would be worth it if you were to lose Edmonds.
So Whitehead is a possible option if we can't get Edmonds. And the same thing can be said about Justin Reed from the Houston Texans, someone that I was actually hoping, and I rather, at the time, would have rather the Steelers to pick in the first round than Terrell Edmonds.
Yeah, we actually wanted Reed over Terrell Edmonds that year.
Because I thought Reed was a better safety, and I still think that. I really do. I still think Justin Reed is a better safety than Terrell Edmonds. I think he's still a very underrated safety. I think he's a capable guy that can get turnovers, make the tackles, stop the run. I think Reed is a very capable guy and a potential option to replace Edmonds if we can't keep Edmonds.
And a guy that I'm sure they had meetings with during that draft year. I'm sure a guy they had high on their draft boards, or that many teams had high on their draft boards. For some reason, Reed dropped to the third. And obviously has NFL bloodlines, so that could lead the Steelers to signing this guy if Edmonds were to leave. Or I'll say lastly here, Marcus May. I know he went down with an injury last year, so he's kind of looking for that 1-year prove-it deal, and I think that'd be solid with him opposite of
Minka
Fitzpatrick. It's kind of like him back with Jamal Adams, only a much better Jamal Adams, a more intercepting Jamal Adams, to be real with you. So I wouldn't mind Marcus May on a nice 1-year prove-it deal to prove himself.
No, I wanted, someone that was dependable in the Jets secondary that wasn't really anything. A Jets team that wasn't really anything. No. And before he did go down, May really stood out.
But I truthfully hope we do resign Terrell Edmonds. I'm going to refresh Twitter real quick. I don't think there's any news. I was hoping there'd be something. Any trade, any other re-signing. There's nothing. I'm very disappointed.
I see nothing.
There is nothing. There is absolutely nothing on Twitter. Twitter's dead, bro.
No update on the Steelers. No breaking news as of right now. Not even a re-sign of any sorts from anybody.
No.
So it's kind of dead at the moment. It's very silent, but I definitely expect it to pick up for sure as the new league year officially comes upon us next week. Next Wednesday, actually.
Next Wednesday, and there'll be more trades, more signings coming up very, very shortly. I mean, the pot's already being stirred, so, there's only so much more to be added.
Yeah.
We already got crazy news. Quarterbacks being traded. We got quarterbacks staying. We still got Watson out there. We got so much more Steelers news hopefully to come out. Fingers crossed. I was hoping there'd be a lot more by now, but
some could still happen. You never know.
Right, but they've been quiet. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, or maybe it's just them doing the typical Steelers thing where they just
the Steeler way.
They just re-sign these undermining depth guys and just fill in with scraps like they usually do. Hopefully that's not the case. They have more cap to work with, so hopefully that's not the route they go again. But
yeah. Nonetheless, that's our free agency wish list for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, that is our.
Let us know what you guys think down in the live chat for sure. We're going to stick here around for a little bit, talk to you guys. Free agency, it's getting crazy. It's getting really crazy.
It is getting crazy, man. Let's see. Mr. Jimmy Dean 1 says, let Edmonds test free agency and see nobody is checking for him. I'm sure there'll be interest from a guy or for a guy like Edmonds, someone that plays every down, that's dependable, that's played every game since he's came into the league. There's going to be interest.
Yeah, I want to see why not. I mean, Edmonds has definitely. And listen, he's nothing great. He's nothing mind-blowing. He's not a Minka Fitzpatrick type of player.
But he allows Minka to be Minka.
Exactly. Like, Edmonds complements Minka so well. He allows Minka to do what he can. And Edmonds has turned into a better tackler compared to his earlier years. He covers those tight ends and running backs if need be.
I was impressed with Edmonds' progression.
And he can make a game-saving tackle if anything.
Right.
Or touchdown-saving tackle. You catch my drift.
Right. Electric Visual says, how about the Honey Badger? I love the Honey Badger. I don't know if we could afford him, though.
Well, he's definitely going to test free agency waters for sure. He's going to test the open market. I don't know.
Jabril Peppers says Ben Tinmeyer. So Jabril Peppers, yeah, I mean, Jabril Peppers is another first-round caliber guy that could attract the Steelers. I still like Jabril Peppers, but
yeah,
I don't know. He might get another offer too. Plus, isn't he coming off an injury?
Did he get injured?
I could be wrong. I might be mistaking him for someone else.
I don't know if he got injured.
I know someone on that Giants secondary got hurt, but he's still young, first-round pedigree. He can play safety. Obviously, he can work in the box.
And I mean, let's not forget he still is one of the versatile type of safeties. You know, he was that way back in college in Michigan.
Right. Well, because he was a linebacker / safety.
Yeah.
So he can work in the box.
And the Steelers like those type of players, so that's another name to add to the safety category.
Right. Yeah, he was placed on injury reserve after suffering a torn ACL and a high ankle sprain. So he's coming off an injury, so that might be a little cautious. But I wouldn't mind Jabril Peppers. That's another name, Ben. That's another name.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Brandon says, come on, Watson. Again, I don't think the Steelers truthfully get Watson, but I'm going to be cautiously optimistic. That's just me, though.
All right, we'll see. We'll see.
ISG6 Yeet says Landon Collins as an inside linebacker. I wouldn't mind that. Landon Collins, he plays best as an inside guy. I don't think he's that deep safety he used to be in his second year.
No.
But he played better as an inside guy, so I wouldn't mind him. I would not mind Collins as an inside linebacker.
Again, another option. You know, there's all options are on the table if you ask me for the Steelers.
I'm not ruling anything out.
No, I don't think we should. Especially with the cap that the Steelers finally have now after all these years.
Right.
Anything's on the table.
Jordan Whitehead over Edmonds. Let Minka really do his thing. I agree. That is if we have Whitehead secured. Then I let Edmonds walk, but I'm not gambling. Honestly.
I would have to imagine the Steelers are going to try to resign Edmonds before looking at other options.
Truthfully.
I would have to imagine.
That's what I do, too.
And, yeah, they declined the fifth-year option, but that's not because of the type of player he was. It's because the cap hit that he would have taken if we picked up the fifth-year option.
Right, and obviously he's not worth that.
It was not worth that. Of course not.
No.
But it doesn't mean we're not going to potentially try to resign him. I absolutely think we're going to try to resign him.
Right. White Mama 24 says...
Great name.
Yeah, my source within the Steelers said that the reason James Conner was in the doghouse this year was that Tomlin was giving him an adversity speech, and James walked out in the middle of it, which angered Tomlin. I heard nothing of that.
Neither did I.
I don't know what your sources are, but if that's the case, wow.
I heard nothing about that, man.
Adversity speech in James would James Conner do? Would James Washington do that? It doesn't come off as a disrespectful asshole.
Yeah, I know. I always pictured Washington as a guy that just shows up to work and tries to do his job to the best of his ability. And
even when he requested a trade, he didn't cause no drama in the locker room or do no cryptic tweet shit like all these other fucking bums
exactly.
do.
Like, he's a very quiet individual. He just shows up to work and does his job.
He'll get signed somewhere, and he deserves it, and hopefully he shines.
I definitely think he'll shine for sure.
Super Kid says, one source, Steelers are interested in Deshaun Watson, another source, Steelers are not interested in Deshaun Watson. Yeah, I don't know what to believe anymore, dude. I'll just believe what the hell I want to believe. I'll believe what I think I should believe.
Honestly, I'm just going to stick with what Jerry Dulick said, since he's a Steelers inside source, and I highly doubt he would lie to everybody on Twitter.
He's not lie. He's falsely reported before. Remember he said that we weren't going to get Minka Fitzpatrick?
Yeah, but I don't think he did what he... I don't know.
I think he said last year that Steelers weren't going to resign Juju.
I don't remember that.
I don't know what to believe. I mean, for fuck's sake, Adam Schefter said that Tom Brady was retiring, and then he was like 7 days late. So I don't know who to believe anymore, man.
I think he misunderstood it. He planned to retire, but only on Tom's own ways or his own time, you know? I think Schefter just misunderstood what his source told him.
I don't know.
I think that's what it is.
Again, I don't know who to believe, bro. JJ says, Sup Twins, long time no see. Missed half the season because of boot camp, man. Would love to discuss with you guys thoughts on DJ and Claypool being an elite duo with a mobile quarterback. I think they have the utmost potential. Johnson absolutely has all the potential in the world to be a number one. I think he still is our number one.
Oh, dude, he showcases that basically every week.
But if he can just fix up these minor issues, which is the reoccurring drops, which he didn't show till the end of last season, and some of the little stuff that's just unnecessary, like him dancing and losing 5 yards after catching the ball. I mean, stuff like that. I mean,
and the same can be said for Claypool with his reoccurring drops and his impact that greatly diminished after his rookie year.
Just his clumsiness, not tracking the ball, him falling after doing a fucking simple go route. I mean,
or celebrating after a simple first down. You know, I kind of hope Claypool does mature up a bit. He does grow up a little bit. Because I think both guys have the utmost potential, especially with the Steelers, to be a dynamic duo.
They would complement each other so well, especially with a quarterback that is unpredictable and someone that can totally open the offense up.
Yes.
Someone like a Deshaun Watson, like a Mariota, like a Trubisky, like I'll even say it, even though I doubt he's going to be a Steeler, because I think he's ultimately going to be a Panther, a Giant, or a Seahawk, a Malik Willis. Or maybe I'll throw this guy's name out there, a Kenny Pickett, a Desmond Ridder.
Options.
There are options. I'm not rolling anything out for the draft or for free agency.
No. I'm not rolling anything out, and I'm not going to rely on one position or one thing for free agency or the draft.
Right.
I'm open to all. I really am.
And he says, JJ says, first rounders, Claypool, and or Tuitt and more picks would probably be what we trade for Watson. I'd take out Claypool because we're already bare at receiver. I would take out Claypool and I'd add Bush. But I'd only add Bush if we have like a guy like Bobby Wagner secured.
Yeah.
And then we can still draft a guy.
Potentially. Potentially, for sure.
That's what I'd do. I would totally add Tuitt. I love Tuitt. And I know it's not really right because he sat out all year only for us to trade him to a team like the Texans. But we have a guy like Wormley who is dependable.
Very dependable and definitely really stepped up a lot last year. Late last year, too.
Right. But totally, JJ, I would totally do something like that, man. White Mama says, I agree. I want to see James Washington excel somewhere else. I don't know exactly where. That could be the Saints. That could be, I don't know, what other team. Maybe the Cardinals.
The Patriots.
The Patriots. I don't know what other team. There's teams, maybe the Lions. I don't know. But I'd hope so, man. He deserves it.
I definitely have to believe he's going to get more playing time and better position to succeed for sure. Outside the Steelers.
Chad says Evan Ingram. Is he a free agent this year? If he
Yes, Evan Ingram is supposed to be a free agent.
Well,
and I heard that some teams may be looking to potentially move him to receiver.
I thought he should have done that way beforehand.
Because I don't think he's a tight end. He's a big body guy, but I don't think he's a natural tight end.
Well, he can't block, and he's a little undependable, but he definitely should have been a big boy tight end. He runs, wide receiver. He just plays more so like a receiver than he does a tight end.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to get a big contract somewhere. Not a big contract, but I don't think we need a guy like Ingram, man. We already have Muse. We got Gentry. So I don't think there's no need for him.
Tight end, finally, after so many years, trying to fill that void at tight end is pretty good. We don't have to worry about tight end.
Thank God.
You know, maybe add a Connor Hayward to that list too, but other than that, tight end will be fantastic.
Which Chris Goodwin says here, think we all draft Cam Hayward's little brother.
Yes.
I can guarantee you, Connor Hayward's going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. There's a few guys that are on my list that I know for certain will be Steelers in this draft class. Connor Hayward is at the top of that list.
Honestly, if you ask me, just to make sure that he is a Steeler, if he's there in the 6th round, I could see us taking him in the 6th.
Absolutely.
Just to secure him as a Steeler.
Absolutely. What's everyone's thoughts on letting Juju walk? I think we have a 1 with DJ and a 2 with Claypool. We can draft another receiver. I mean, we're the Steelers, but I think we should target J.C. Jackson. JJ, I agree completely. With Juju, I'm going to go into it like I did last year. I will welcome him back with open arms.
But hey, if he leaves, so be it. I'm not going to be upset. I'm not going to be butthurt. I'm not going to I'm not really going to put too much thought into it. If he leaves, so be it.
And wide receivers deep this year, secretly.
Not only that, I keep forgetting we do have Anthony Miller to a future reserve contract.
Right.
Former Bears second-round selection.
Former slot guy.
So maybe this is a second chance option for him. I was actually hoping he'd get more playing time than Ray did last year. He obviously didn't.
Right.
But maybe this is a time where maybe if we do extend Ray, maybe him and Miller fight for that number 3 position. If we don't, I don't know. Because if we draft a receiver, I don't think we're going to rush him. We never do.
It wouldn't be the most stout number 3 receiving guy. That's why I think we might draft someone. But hey,
but like I said, I don't think we're going to rush him completely.
But it could lead to more targets for Muth.
Hey, it's possible.
Muth could be the number 3 next year, man. Where are we at in the chat? Let's see. Are we interested in Landry from Cleveland? I doubt. If he's a free agent, maybe, but I doubt. Would Mitch Trubisky take us all the way to the Super Bowl, guys? No.
Oh, hell no.
Maybe the playoffs, and that's a big maybe.
I'm not anticipating a Super Bowl at all, man.
I'm not anticipating a Super Bowl for the next 5 years.
I'm really not. It's going to take us time to reach that level of success again. It's going to take us a bit. It's going to take us maybe a down year or 2 potentially if we don't get a Watson or don't draft a quarterback.
I'm thinking a small little rebuild 1 or 2 years max, and then maybe we'll still compete.
Yeah.
That's why I also want us to get a guy like Watson. You see the field of quarterbacks that are fucking in the AFC with Russell Wilson now. Look at the AFC West.
I get that, and I get the entire AFC conference with how stacked quarterback is in the AFC. But I don't want the Steelers to have to rush to it.
Okay, but
rush to replacing one just because of all these stacked quarterbacks and these divisions and the conference in general.
I know.
You know, I hope the Steelers just don't have to put their name in that pool. There's everybody else has a great quarterback in the AFC. We need one. And trade all this and that for, who?
But it's Deshaun fucking Watson.
I know it's Deshaun Watson. But I don't know how I feel about trading all of our potential future for one dude. Even if it is Watson. That's how I feel. I'm thinking of this, like I said earlier, I'm thinking of this the same way I thought about the Aaron Rodgers potential scenario before he got extended.
Ultimately, again, I don't think Watson goes to the Steelers. I think it's an NFC team.
It's not very Steeler-like. It's not.
But neither was Colbert's offer to the Packers.
I don't know.
I'm not ruling anything out anymore.
Listen, neither am I. But I have to agree with your stance. I think he goes to an NFC team.
Yeah, like Electric Visual says, Panthers getting Watson and Christian McCaffrey will be in the deal. I thought that all day today. I think he's going to the Panthers. They have the capital to afford it. I don't think they need Christian McCaffrey anymore. He's just a little too undependable, but he has that attraction that could add to that trade.
Yeah. And the Panthers at running back, they could definitely stick with Chuba Hubbard. I think he's more than capable.
Secretly, I can totally see the Giants trading for Watson. They got a whole new coaching staff.
The Giants, that's interesting.
They could build a team around him.
Maybe they would definitely have to send Daniel Jones to the Texans, and maybe even Barkley.
Maybe. Hey, it's the NFL all season. It's completely underway. AB will never come back to the Berg. AB wants to play for Dallas and Jerry Jones. Well, he can go to Dallas, man. I mean, that's a match made in hell for him. Corey Flores says, what's up, guys? What's up, Corey?
Hey, what's good, Corey? What's up?
No relation to Brian. JJ says we should also get those linemen from the football team and Bucks. I can't remember their names right now. We also need to make sure Najee doesn't have a million carries either. I agree, bro.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes. Enough of feeding the ball to Najee all the time. I want us to run the ball, but I don't want him getting hurt.
I don't want 400 carries to Najee Harris. No.
No, I think he got more than a freaking enough, especially behind the offensive line we had to sustain last year.
He didn't even get his feet wet, bro. He got thrown in the pool like a 5-year-old, you know?
Yeah, he's like a father with his son. He just threw him in there.
Bench press and just yeet into the fucking pool, which obviously, I mean, he showed he can swim with the sharks, so.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, no one denied that.
No. Zach Long says Sky Moore is going to be a Steeler.
I would like that a lot.
After Connor Hayward, Sky Moore is my number 2 guy on that list who I seriously think will be a Steeler. Sky Moore fits all the boxes. He checks all the boxes. All the lines point to Sky Moore being a Steeler. Day 2. Round 2. Round 3.
Absolutely round 2, especially after his combine performance.
He's fast.
Hell yeah.
He's only played the position for like 3 years. He went to school with Tomlin's son.
He grew up near Pittsburgh or around Pittsburgh. Apparently, he's a fan of the Steelers.
He's a converted quarterback / DB to receiver, which obviously Steelers love their converted guys. I mean, Hines Ward was a quarterback coming out of Georgia, I believe.
Can't forget about Antoine Randall, who was a big factor.
I mean,
in Super Bowl 40. Antonio Brown, he was a quarterback.
Yeah. All the lines point, man.
And it's funny that they're all wide receiver.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
It's all wide receiver.
That's why we're so good at receiver, man.
Yes, we are.
That's why we're so good at receiver. Juju lost his explosiveness. I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm not going to disagree.
No.
I think I want to keep Devin Bush. He might improve greatly with Brian Flores being the new linebacker coach. I mean, he was starting to improve at the end of the year without the better coaching. You're right.
Yeah, and I think having Flores under the development of Devin Bush could definitely help Bush a lot. I really do.
And truthfully, I don't see the Steelers moving on from Bush. They're going to give him the one last year. I doubt they exercise his fifth-year option. I wouldn't. It's too expensive for someone that's been a little underwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they give him one last chance. But I would also explore possibly trading him if it means for a guy like Watson.
Maybe.
But that is only if we have a guy to replace him as our number one guy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, then, shit. If Juju leaves, I'm going to be sad with how much potential he had and how he fell off. I feel you.
Yeah, and that production, I mean, Juju showed a lot, but, I mean, he did have Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
He did have Antonio Brown assisting him.
And I'm not trying to make excuses for Juju, but he also had Fichtner in Canada as his coordinators that only limited him to a Ryan Switzer role, and he had an aging quarterback.
I mean, those things do play a toll. They do. I'm not denying that.
No.
But Juju and his impact from his earlier years, I mean, that definitely diminished as well.
I
think just about everything played a part in how he is now.
I doubt he sees those days again, but whatever happens to Juju, I wish him all the success. I'm very appreciative for his contributions, and especially for him absolutely making his way back to the playoff game.
Yeah.
Showing interest in Brissett to compete with Rudolph and Haskins. Don't expect any other quarterbacks this year to be brought in. I would hate that. I
wouldn't mind Brissett. I really wouldn't. Because he has plenty of starts under his belt.
But there's other guys we can go out there.
I know there's other guys. But if they don't want to come in, and Brissett has that connection to build with Flores, because he was the backup to Tua. And when Tua
you're right.
And Tua was benched. And Brissett was starting.
First of all, he already has that connection with Matt Canada from NC State. Now you're telling me he has that connection with Flores?
Yes.
You're telling me
Flores didn't like Tua, and because Tua was not playing so well, he benched him for Brissett.
And you're telling me this guy's going to be the next Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback?
He might, and honestly, it's not really that horrible. It's not great, don't get me wrong. It's not great, but it's not overly horrible.
I'm not a fan.
I think it's decent.
I want Mariota. Damn it, you just had to say that. You ruined my night.
I'm surprised you forgot that. It happened last year.
Oh, yeah, it was last year.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Happened 2 years ago, too.
When I think of Brissett, I think of Colts. That's all I think of. Let's see. What are your thoughts on John Feliciano, left guard from Buffalo? I actually never heard of this guy, if I'm being real with you. Never heard of this guy. He's a very...
Yeah, his name rings a bell. But I didn't really look into him.
He was just cut recently. I don't know how I missed that.
I didn't really look into him at all.
Dang, he signed a 3-year, $17 million contract literally a year ago.
And he was the starting left guard until we got hurt with a calf injury late last year.
Right. He could be a nice vet guy.
And he has starting experience with the Raiders and the Bills that we just saw.
Right.
So that's another possible candidate.
It took 21 years between Ben and Bradshaw, which means we should have our next franchise quarterback in 2041. We went between 26 years between our 4th and 5th Super Bowl wins. I don't think it's going to be that rough. There's too much talent nowadays.
I would hope it's not that long. I really would.
I mean, I know it's incredibly hard to find a franchise quarterback. It is.
Oh, for sure.
I don't think it'll be that bad. Truthfully.
Mm-hmm.
Bridge quarterback this year, draft quarterback next year. I could see that. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm up for that. I'm up for taking that potential road.
That's the approach ultimately I think will happen, and I kind of want to happen, even though I really want Watson. I know it's not going to happen, so I'm cool with that.
Hey, I mean, you can keep that fantasy to yourself.
I'll keep that fantasy.
You keep that fantasy. I'm going to be
I'll sleep good at night tonight when I think about that.
I'm going to be in the boat To which I'll be genuinely shocked if the Steelers do pull the trigger and get Watson.
Well, you know what? I'm going to sleep good tonight knowing that Deshaun Watson is not going to be a Steeler, but I'll still think that way. So, you know what?
All right, well, that's you then. You be you.
I will be me. JJ says, we're literally an offensive line and an average quarterback away from the Super Bowl, maybe a corner or two. We should have won another with Ben, but we didn't have the linemen. Think Manning, Witt, in Denver. Yeah, they had a great defense. We already have a solid defense. Just got to fill in another corner, another inside linebacker.
Some depth, for sure.
Some
the
depth.
Defense.
And an O-line, man. I think we're getting a pick from Bud Dupree, but we might get one from Matt Fielder. I think the Fielder one was disqualified. I know we're getting a 4th for Dupree.
Yeah.
We could have gotten, what was it, a 5th, I think, for...
When were we supposed to get one for Hilton?
Yeah, I think that was a 5th or 6th. I think we were supposed to get a 5th for Haig, but that was obviously disqualified when he started in the last game.
Yeah. So we basically forfeited that selection.
Which, by the way, why is Zach Banner still on the team? Like, I know why he's on the team. Tackle is bare. We only have 3 tackles officially signed for next year.
But if anything, why has his contract not been restructured yet?
See, this is what I mean when I expected more news. I expected Schubert to be cut. I expected some restructures. I expected a little bit more people to be resigned. When we say do something, Steelers, we're not saying sign free agents because they can't right now. We mean make moves before you can sign people so we can have the ability to sign people, so we have that understanding and that confirmation what we have to get.
Yeah, and we've seen teams like the Giants, and I think the Falcons have made some restructures.
Obviously the Packers. Obviously the Saints.
So I can't understand why we can't do it basically right now.
They're doing it so late. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe I'm impatient. Maybe I'm putting my expectations too high.
This is what the Steelers do all the time. They do this every year.
But with more cap, we just had a little more anticipation because this is not normal for Steeler fans. This is not.
But to have this much money now.
Exactly. We're normally under the cap.
All the time.
No. We're normally over the cap.
Yeah.
Now we're pretty nicely under the cap. Could make more, but we're not yet. I don't know why. No idea why. It's Rudolph's job to lose. Only quarterbacks we should consider as comp is Mariota, Winston, or Bridgewater. Go after Peppers, Davis, Hightower, and Fletcher Cox. I don't disagree. Fletcher Cox, he's still an intriguing guy, but I don't know about his cap hit. And I know the Eagles are going to want a lot if they're going to take a $40 million dead cap for trading Cox or cutting Cox.
And Colbert was not really in favor of trading a 3rd-round pick
last year
for Fletcher Cox when we actually needed him the most. So I highly doubt he's going to do it now.
Right.
When Alu and even Tuitt has informed the Steelers that they're looking to come back, and I think the Steelers are going to be willing to let them guys start.
Right. Yeah, I think we're keeping Zach Banner. I mean, I'm not surprised because we are bare at tackle. I'd only accept it if he takes a fucking pay cut. How much is he getting paid this year?
A lot.
Too much for one start.
Yeah, because he had $9-some million, so he's got to be making a little over maybe 4 or 5. If I'm not mistaken.
I want his contract details, Google. Come on. Fucking up today, Google. You're my best friend in high school, now you're fucking up.
Wow.
I'm just being honest.
And the website ain't loading.
Nothing's loading.
Why?
There we go. All right, he is making $5 million next year.
Yep, nope. Cut more than half of that. Come on.
Give me $3 million.
2.
3.
2.
3.
2.
3.
2.
3.
2.
3.
Fine.
Give me $3 million back, Banner, and then you can go do pajama photo shoots. I don't fucking care. And nothing's on Twitter. There's no man, this is a slow news night. This is bullshit. Watch, we go off stream and then Deshaun Watson gets traded. How much you want to bet? That's how it happens.
I'm not a gambler.
That's how it happens. That's how it happens. Coaches are saying they are excited to see Banner this year, so I doubt he gets cut. Excited for what? Excited for what? Victory formation? How much of that are we going to see, really? People forget that when Juju had to play outside against the Packers, he exposed their secondary, but Ben missed 2 touchdowns. Yeah, I do remember that. Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
It was because of that and the bullshit offside call they had on Hayden on that blocked field goal where Fitzpatrick took back for 6.
Yeah.
That's what messed up that game and cost us that game, specifically.
Yeah.
Juju still has all the potential in the world, man. He really does if he's used properly.
And he's still young. I think he's only 24.
He's another one of those guys with that much experience and still that young.
Yeah.
Which is ultimately another reason why I kind of want to bring Juju back. But at the same time, I understand we can easily replace him.
Yeah.
It didn't take us long to replace Antonio Brown in terms of number one.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Production value, no one will ever replace that.
But number one, I mean, like, come on.
Thoughts on Brian Allen, the Rams center? Isn't he a free agent?
I think he's a projected free agent.
26 years old. How did I completely miss this one? Man, they have a lot of fucking free agents, especially on that line.
Yeah, they do.
They already got, what's his name? Austin Corbett, now Brian Allen. Damn, man. I wouldn't mind him, actually. That's another guy we could bring up.
Yeah, maybe. Potentially. I haven't really looked too much into Brian Allen.
Me neither. I like that name, actually. It's another option. See, this is why originally this stream was supposed to be a regular video where we just talk about our free agency wish list, but we decided to make it a SteelTwins Saturday night to make this interactive, and I'm glad we did it because you guys are bringing out names we didn't even think of. So.
Exactly, and this is a lot of fun. I like doing this.
Hell yeah. And I was hoping there'd be more news so we could talk about it, but hell no, maybe that's next week because that's when free agency is officially going to be underway.
Yeah.
So I think we'll do that next week.
That's the plan.
If the Steelers give us something to talk about. Colbert. If Hayden leaves, J.C. Jackson should be top priority. I agree. Mm-hmm. But I will also take Carlton Davis or Dante Jackson or Darius Williams.
Yeah.
Mariota is more mobile, but Brissett is the better pocket passer. He probably is, but I don't know, man. The Tomlin has been very, very keen on mobility, as has Colbert, so that's why I'm targeting Mariota.
Yeah. I mean, Brissett ain't completely mobile, so I would have to imagine they may prioritize Mariota more.
I mean, he's mobile enough. Brissett,
yeah, but he's not, like, overly mobile.
No.
You know?
No, he's not. But he's mobile enough. I mean, I still remember his first career start versus the Texans when Brady had that suspension and he had that rushing touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
I still remember that shit. That was Thursday night, I believe.
Yeah, it was. Wow, you remember that very vividly.
Yeah, I do. I don't know why, but I do.
Who would have thought that we could potentially be seeing a future Steelers starting quarterback?
All the lines point to Brissett, bro. The Matt Canada connection.
I mean, it just might. Who knows?
The Friedman Jackson connection, the Brian Flores connection. I'm not a fan. I think there's guys we can get for a little bit extra more cap to spend that will be a little bit more in competitive contention for not only the quarterback position, but to keep us in contention.
Hey, maybe.
I mean, Mariota and Trubisky, my top two guys, will cost between $5 or $10 million. We can afford that.
Oh, absolutely.
Nice 1-2 year prove-it deal. I wouldn't mind that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they don't draft a quarterback. I would make it a 2-year deal.
Okay.
That way, that guy competes and or starts this year, but also you have a guy next year when you do eventually get your quarterback.
Yeah. I think regardless to do a 2-year deal, if you ask me.
I would.
I think ultimately they do a 2-year deal for whoever they pick up in free agency.
Well, you're also going to have to lock up a quarterback for next year, for 2023, because Mason and Haskins are only under contract for this upcoming year.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to lock up at least one quarterback. Otherwise, you're going to have no quarterbacks in the quarterback room next year.
Exactly. So I absolutely see a 2-year deal.
Mason Rudolph will have to watch out for Bobby Wagner and Tyrann Mathieu if the Ravens get one or both of them. How about none of them? I know you guys are probably going to lose Deshaun Elliott. I can totally see you guys getting Matthew for sure.
I mean, dude, you guys are, like, for some reason, you guys just get these safeties out of nowhere.
And I mean, you got Eric Weddle, you got, who was the other safety you guys got?
Tony Jefferson.
There you go, Tony Jefferson. I mean, so many other guys. You guys just make splashes at safety.
Fingers crossed Matthew doesn't become a Raven, but I see him going there.
And Marlon Humphreys already made a comment on Twitter, Wagner with PQ, obviously, Patrick Queen. No, thank you. No, thank you. Von Miller, I wish, but we don't need him.
Where would Von Miller go?
Back to Denver.
You think?
Back to Denver or back with the Rams. One of those two.
I would have to imagine one of those two.
One of those two for sure. You keeping Deontay, Washington, Ray, and Juju? I'm keeping Deontay, Ray, and possibly Juju. Washington's gone. I would love to keep Washington, but I know he's not going to stay, so I'm not going to say, keep Washington. We need to keep him. He's not staying.
No, he's definitely not. And I don't blame him one bit.
Chad says, Will Fuller, if he could stay healthy, first-round pedigree, incredible speed, but can't stay healthy to save his life. It's just not worth it.
Such a speedster. Man, I remember Watson's rookie year. I had Will Fuller on my fantasy team. That motherfucker won me some fantasy games.
Yeah, right?
Because Fuller, oh my God, was he a hell of a target. And then Watson went down, and then Fuller went down. I'm like, great, there goes my season.
Yeah, I feel you. Zachary Simmons says, would you lease the future for Watson? 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and Deontay. We need an explosive quarterback with the competition in the division. I don't want to have to suck like Cincy to get a number 1 overall pick. Number 1 overall quarterback at that. I would trade for Watson. I'd trade 2 firsts this year and next year. I would trade a 3rd for next year. And I would toss in Tuitt and Bush if we have someone to replace Bush.
And honestly, I don't know if we would package a wide receiver. I mean, yeah, we could easily replace them, but is Brandon Cooks still under contract with Houston?
Yes.
So I wouldn't. I don't think Houston would probably even want another receiver.
Well, I think they would, but we can't afford to trade our receivers because it's already bare enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on a contract for 1 more year.
Yeah.
I believe.
And Cooks, he's underrated.
Very underrated. God bless him.
I feel bad for that, man. He's went from team to team to team to team to team and has been very underrated.
But 2 firsts, a 3rd for next year, Tuitt and Bush. And then maybe we get Watson and a 4th for this year or next year.
Maybe.
Similar to the Russell Wilson trade. But you already have a replacement in Chris Wormley for Tuitt, and you save cap for getting rid of Tuitt. And Bush, I still like his potential. He's young, but they need a linebacker. They'll probably take on the 5th-year option just because they're that desperate. And if we have a guy in line to replace Bush, then I'll consider it. And with the 2 firsts, yeah, we won't have a first this year, but we could still draft needs in the 2nd, 3rd round, which we would still have.
Maybe.
And the 3rd round that we would trade next year, you could get that back if Juju were to walk. Or if not, then you could still get an early mid-round comp pick for if Juju were to walk.
Possibly.
That's
all I'm going to say.
I'm throwing it out there.
That's all I'm going to say.
I'm throwing it out there. I'm still refreshing Twitter. There's nothing. There's nothing.
Of course there's nothing. You're refreshing every 3 minutes.
This sucks. Schefter, wake the fuck up. What are you doing?
What do you mean wake the fuck up? It's what time is it? It's
10
almost
o'clock.
10. Man, he goes to bed at this time? How do you know what his bedtime schedule is?
I don't know.
All right. I highly doubt he's asleep. He's probably
Hey,
wide awake.
What if he's overseas somewhere and it's like 5 o'clock in the morning? He might be sleeping. I'm just saying. He might be in the UK. Shout out to Josh K. He's probably in the UK sleeping.
Why would he be in the UK with the news breaking out?
He's on vacation.
Vacation, man.
Mobile vacation. He still works.
No. This is his biggest time in his career.
But he's enjoying it while being on vacation.
No, but he's got to be on ESPN television. You can't do virtual talks.
In a world where we have Skype and Zoom.
No.
Are you kidding me?
No.
I'm just saying, bro.
No. That's not being. You're not.
All I'm asking for is news.
You're not as dedicated. If you're as dedicated, you gotta be there in person.
What are you talking about? You're still working while on vacation.
Okay, but you shouldn't have to be in a virtual video on ESPN Live during your vacation.
All I'm asking is for some sort of news. I don't even care if it's Steelers news. Just give me something. I'm crazy. This is one of my favorite times of the year, bro. It's bad enough we can't watch football tonight, tomorrow. I'm bored as shit. I need something.
You see what I gotta deal with?
I'm just saying.
With how impatient he is about anything.
I'm just saying.
This is what I deal with on a daily basis.
And you're still alive, so fuck you. Trubisky wants $10 million according to all reports, and Mariota has too many turnovers and 61 starts. He is what he is at this point. I want Trubisky for $10 million. I don't know if he actually gets that. I mean, there'll probably be some desperate team that will give it to him, but
Nah, I can see us potentially giving a quarterback that money.
right.
Quarterback ain't too, great in free agency, but I mean, let's not forget when Mike Glennon got a big money contract from the Bears because he was the top name in free agency.
God, that was so stupid.
It was so stupid, but because he was the top quarterback, I'm saying
They was desperate.
They were desperate, and they had to give him that much money because he was the top option.
Right.
And if you're a top option, you're definitely going to be bargaining for some sort of money. So I think those type of guys like Trubisky and Bridgewater or whoever could get something along the lines close to $10 million or maybe a little up.
Right.
That's just my opinion.
Zachary says, I think Houston sends Watson to Carolina for Christian McCaffrey and a plethora of picks, but Russ won the Super Bowl. That's why he yielded more. Yeah.
And everyone's thinking the Panthers, and I would have to agree.
Well, they have more flexibility.
They do.
They have more to offer. I think he definitely goes to a team with more than one draft pick this year.
And you know what?
That's why I say the Giants. Or for fuck's sake, the Lions. God bless Deshaun Watson, but why not, right?
I don't know, but not only would they put Christian McCaffrey in that deal, but maybe Sam Darnold. Let's not forget the Panthers did
pick up a fifth-year option.
Yeah. And, I mean, they could just give that contract to Houston.
Right.
I know that doesn't look too keen for Houston. I mean, but they never look too keen.
Yeah.
So it's like, just go with whatever at this point.
Elias says Juju should work out more rather than doing TikTok dances on logos. You guys got real mad at him for that in your previews and recaps. Yeah, we did. I'm not afraid to admit it. I got real upset at Juju for his off-field shenanigans.
No, it was just
or
dumb.
his on-field shenanigans at that for the TikTok on logos and shit. I never doubted his work ethic or his focus on football.
No.
All I was upset about is we are, especially in that 2020 season where we were losing 2-3 straight and we had a Monday night game versus the Bengals, and he's dancing on logos. We are losing how many games straight, and you're focusing on TikTok.
Yeah, basically with the record we had at the time, we were the number 1 seed, and we were trying to keep a hold of it, and Juju wanted to take time.
Corvette.
He wanted to take time before a very important primetime game against a rival that's trying to wreck our season, knock us off our pedestal, and he wanted to do a TikTok dance.
It was unnecessary, it was childish, it was immature, and it showed the lack of focus from that football team at that point.
Yeah. And hell, when he got hit
by Von Bell,
I mean, I was like, good, you deserve it.
Yeah. I'm not afraid to admit it. Go back to the recap. We said it then and there, bro.
And listen, don't get us wrong. We love Juju. We don't deny the work ethic. We don't deny his reliability on the football field.
And because Juju does TikTok dances, that does not push me away from wanting Juju back.
Of course not. Of course not.
I'm over that. I'm sure Juju is a lot more mature now.
But I feel like it's definitely, and I'm not trying to tell Juju what to do. I'm not trying to tell another grown-ass man how to take care of his life or how to have fun. But I wish, during a football game or before a football game, he puts that to the side. He puts all the cameras and the phones and the TikTok down and gets ready for a much important football game.
My fear, that's the route Claypool's going to go because he's still a little immature.
I know, and I kind of sense that for Claypool. And I still like Claypool to a degree. I still feel he has that potential to be
utmost potential.
An absolute beast for his size. Like a guy of his size and that potential, like, he just has it.
Yeah, this guy's
and he showcases it, but he's so inconsistent with it too. He's very inconsistent with it too.
I just hope he matures for sure this upcoming off season.
Yeah,
that's all I ask for because he's gonna have to step it up if Juju's gone for sure.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, Brissett to Steelers as a free agent. Yeah, everyone's saying that. Everyone's putting the lines together, and I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. Watson has final say where he goes. He does, so fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. He's like, all right. Trade me to the Steelers.
Okay.
And whatever we offer, I don't know. Again, I don't see it happening, but.
No, I don't either.
Hey, reverse psychology, right? I'm just trying. Seahawks have the 9th pick to trade for Deshaun Watson. They do. And what's his name? Schneider, I believe?
Dan Schneider. Is that his name, Dan Schneider? I think.
I believe.
Or am I thinking of... Is it Dan Schneider or am I thinking of, like, the Nickelodeon dude?
Whatever Schneider it is for the Seahawks. But they always trade their firsts. And what they got for Wilson, they're going to trade most of that probably for Watson. So I wouldn't doubt him going to the Hawks.
And maybe that's one of the reasons why they cut Wagner? Maybe? For more cap?
I don't know. I don't think they'd cut. If anything, they'd add him in the trade. But they cut him before Watson everything got cleared. So you can't say that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they were thinking long term. I have no idea. I don't know what Seattle's doing. I have zero idea what they're doing. They are a dysfunctional team right now.
Oh, God, they always have been. Love Juju, but what are you talking about, Texans or the Seahawks?
Seahawks.
Oh, they always
right now,
have been.
they are.
I thought you were talking about Texans.
I mean, they always will be.
Love Juju, but I didn't like the 5-year, $65 million deal I saw. If Mason wins the job, we need James Washington. That dude's a stud and not a diva. We need more farmers and less TikTokers. Zachary, bro, you was hitting on all plaques tonight.
I agree.
Yeah, bro, I agree. But I know that's not going to be the outcome, man. But
even with that Oklahoma State connection, I still don't think that's going to be enough for Washington. Because we never gave him that opportunity to try to shine. We prioritized Ray, to which he definitely stepped up a little bit. But I always thought Washington had the utmost more potential.
Oh, my God,
than McLeod.
seriously. I was so hyped when we drafted Washington and then Mason right after. I was like, oh, yeah, we got our next AB and Ben.
Oh, man, were we stupid.
If I could go back 4 years. If I could go back 4 years. Absolutely just smack the hell out of myself, I would. Oh, my God, I would. Wow.
I really thought Mason could have taken that NFL leap. I really did. But he never adjusted to it, and he never will.
No, but I'm still comfortable with running with him if we have to.
Yeah, and so am I. I really am. You build around him enough, he can do something. He did decent when Ben went down.
Before everything, unfortunately, went down for him.
Yeah.
Let's see. Mark says, I hear Bobby Wagner's on our radar. He's on a lot of teams' radars. But Wagner to the Steelers, I'd accept it.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Jimmy Dean 1 says, 127 watching, only 60 likes. Get the likes up, Steeler Nation. Yeah, listen to Jimmy Dean, folks. Get the likes up. I appreciate it, Jimmy Dean. Deshaun's going to Cleveland? No, he's not. Don't say that. Do not put that in the air, Body. Body boy, do not put that in the air. For the love of God, don't do that.
I'm not even going to talk about it because I don't want to make that a reality. I don't. If the Browns get
Deshaun Watson, I will freak the fuck out. You're telling me.
I don't want to say it, but
I'm saying you're telling me the Browns will have Deshaun Watson, the Bengals will have Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson's about to get an extension with the Ravens, and
yeah,
that's not happening.
I didn't want to say it, but you said it.
It's not happening.
And the Browns just getting Amari Cooper? I hope to God they pick up Baker's fifth-year option. I really do.
They haven't yet?
I don't think they did. I would have to imagine.
I thought they had a decision on it already. Wasn't he the same draft class as Terrell Edmonds? He was #1 overall. You sure they didn't pick up his option?
No, I don't think so.
They definitely did. They had to.
I don't think they did yet.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, they did. Oh, they did.
They did. So he.
Okay.
That doesn't
I must have missed that.
That doesn't mean they won't trade him. Baker Mayfield still has a chance to not.
He's got one more chance to prove himself, and I don't think he will. Not even with Amari Cooper. I don't.
Did y'all see that Deontay liked the tweet from Stephen A. Smith saying to the Steelers to get Deshaun? Yes, I did.
I did not see that.
You didn't?
I did not.
Let me show you.
I did not see that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm not on Twitter as much anymore.
Why not?
I just don't go on Twitter as much.
Where's the post at?
Someone sent it. I find the majority of my news on Facebook now.
There it is. Someone sent it to us on Twitter, which falls on Twitter at SteelTwins. D. Griffith says.
Shout out to him.
Yeah, he shows us a screenshot right here.
Yo, Steelers, Stephen A. put on Twitter.
Here, let me put it on the screen here.
It's dark.
What the fuck?
And it's zoomed in.
1 second, folks. This is live.
All right, there it is. All right, they can see. There we go.
There it is. That's Deontay Johnson, verified account. As you see, Stephen A's tweet, yo, at Steelers, if there is a way, anyway, damn it, get your hands on Deshaun Watson. Could you exhaust every option to do this? Please, 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 with sugar on top. Pretty please. Yes, I'm begging. Oh, shit, and Deontay did like it. Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. Put it in the air.
We will find out. That's all I'm going to say.
Colbert. Go out with a bang, dude. Come on. I know you're a little indifferent, but I am all in on trading for Deshaun Watson. Get him. Trade for him.
Maybe I'm just used to the Steelers, how they build. through the draft, you know.
Well, haven't we
Maybe
been?
I'm just used to that.
Haven't we been a little?
And we did that with Ben anyway.
Haven't we been a little
Gutsy?
No, frustrated with that approach recently? I can't say
It's just a prototypical Steelers way,
I know,
and
but-
I've gotten used to it.
and I can't say it hasn't worked, but I think there's a few exceptions, like Minka. That was an exception.
Yeah, it was.
You know what I'm saying? So,
At the time, they had to do it.
of course they.
I'm not saying that they don't. I'm not saying they don't have to do it to Watson because they very well could.
Right.
Maybe I'm just accustomed to the Steeler way, and ultimately, I think they will continue to do the Steeler way.
Chad says, "Where do you guys see Jimmy G going?" The Colts.
I see him going to the Colts or the Saints.
I only say the Colts because I really want him to go to the Colts because I don't want him to be a Steeler. I do not want Jimmy G to be a Steeler.
I would have to imagine the Colts are going to show interest.
I do not want Jacoby Brissett. I do not
because
want Jimmy Garoppolo.
I would have to imagine the Colts are going to be interested in Jimmy G because they got rid of Wentz to the Commanders and they don't have a first-round pick.
No.
That's to Philly.
But the Colts have the cap to afford his cap hit.
Yes, they do.
They have $70 million.
So I have to imagine that the Colts are going to be the top destination for Jimmy G. I have to imagine.
Well, hold on. How much was Wentz's cap hit? Wasn't it on par with what's his name? With Jimmy G's cap? Because if that's the case, then why trade? All right, yeah, his cap hit is $28 million. Is Carson Wentz's. Now Jimmy G's cap hit,
I don't think it's that much.
well, it was like $26 million. Where's his contract?
Just type in the contract on Google. You know I don't do that.
Well, Google needs to help me out.
You got to help Google out by specifically tiling down what you want to search.
The cap hit is pretty much $27 million. So it's similar cap hits, but at least you have a little bit more health dependability with Jimmy G.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know, man.
I mean, at least for this year, they go with Jimmy G.
I don't know, man.
Ain't no long-term option, but just to go with it.
I don't know, man. Maybe they signed someone. Maybe they signed Winston. I could see that.
Or maybe the Saints go after Garoppolo and Winston goes to Indianapolis. That's an option.
Yeah. I don't know. It's going to get crazy in the next couple weeks.
It definitely is, for sure.
In fact, most of this could really well determine our pick of 20 if we go quarterback.
Oh, I absolutely think it will depend because there's a lot of teams ahead of us that could go quarterback. There is the Panthers, the Giants potentially. There's the Commanders right now, the Seahawks obviously.
Well, not the Commanders anymore.
Well, yeah, not anymore. That's right.
The Saints. I mean, there's teams ahead. There's teams that could trade up, but
Yeah.
you know, all these quarterback options on the table on Watson and Jimmy G and all these free agents. I don't know, man. You know, there might be a chance that Steelers actually take a quarterback at 20 just because there's going to be a lot of guys available. One guy I don't think will be available, though, is Malik Willis. I think he's the first quarterback off the board just based on his athleticism. And I think he has the most upside of any quarterback this year.
And I would have to think if the Panthers don't try to get Watson or if Watson goes to another team, the Panthers are still going to be heavily interested in quarterback. And if the Steelers are looking to get Malik Willis, they're definitely going to have to trade into top 5, I would have to imagine, in front of Carolina to get Malik to make sure Carolina doesn't get him.
Right. I don't know.
And you know how much capital that could very well cost as well, having to trade up that much
Right.
for Malik Willis. And I don't know how I feel about that either. I really don't.
This is getting crazy, bro.
We'll see what happens. That's all I got to say.
The NFL offseason is in full circle. We're already getting some crazy trades. We're already getting some crazy moves. With more to come around as the league year is just a few days away. It starts Wednesday, officially on Wednesday.
Yep.
But there will be trades, there will be signings that will be announced shortly that will become official come Wednesday. People forget Deshaun just won't go anywhere. He needs to view the trade, approve it, and waive his no-trade clause to activate the trade. Yeah, it is ultimately Deshaun's decision.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately his decision. Zachary Simmons says Falcons could steal Malik Willis as well. Giants, a lot of teams that could easily snag the quarterbacks, and we end up with Ritter. Would not surprise me whatsoever. Ritter from Cincinnati.
I can see it.
At 20, I don't know. But
yeah, I don't know how I feel about Ritter in the first round. Maybe the second if he's there.
But is he going to be there?
I know that's the question.
That's the
question. I don't know if
question.
he will be there.
If Ritter were to be a Steeler in the second round, I would actually really like that.
I would actually be up to taking a quarterback in the second. I really would.
Oh, specifically a guy like Ritter. But I don't know if he'll be there, so they might take him at 20 because, like we said, all these quarterbacks available that will probably be filled. Quarterback will definitely be the top option, at the 20th pick, just because of the guys that will probably be there. Mm-hmm. And I talked to Jedi about this. Shout out to Steel Jedi. I talked about this briefly, a few days ago. Ritter could be the option at 20, because a guy like Malik Willis and his stock is rising, and they're gonna have to trade up for him, and I doubt they would do that. Although, again, I'm not throwing anything out. I'm not ruling anything out for what Colbert does.
Yeah.
But I don't know, trading up for a guy like Malik Willis, a guy that is unproven. I think he has most upside of any quarterback this year, but a guy that is unproven to trade that much into the first round when you know they're going to expect you to trade up for a quarterback, it's going to cost a lot. So
it really is.
But I'm saying all that could culminate to a guy like Ritter being the pick. Someone that has all the tools Steelers are looking for. And a guy that could sit under whoever is the initial quarterback. He'll compete. I don't know if he'll win, but he'll sit for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think that's what he needs for sure.
And most of the quarterbacks, and in fact, I would say all of the quarterbacks this year, the top 5 specifically, are going to have to sit under starters for a little bit before stepping in. That includes a Kenny Pickett. That includes a Sam Howell. That includes a Matt Corral. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. I wouldn't mind Ritter.
No,
at the 20th pick, I don't know. It's a little bit more iffy for me, but
if he's somehow there in the second round, I would actually be all hands on deck for Ritter.
Yeah.
If we were to go quarterback in the draft, I'd be more so for a quarterback in the second than the first, if you ask me. I'm actually kind of hoping we get offensive line, like a guard or somebody, or Linderbaum in the first. But, I mean, I'm open to all positions or all options. I really am. I'm not really putting my focus on one guy or this guy. I'm open to any and all options.
Again, not ruling anything out.
Yeah.
Not ruling anything out. Let's see what's in the chat. Carson Wentz, Russell Wilson, Mari Cooper, Khalil Mack, all traded, and free agency hasn't started yet. Yeah, it's crazy, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Real crazy. Ritter is awesome. I wouldn't mind Ritter. I wouldn't mind him either, man. I like him more than some of the other quarterbacks. I like him more than Howell.
Yeah.
In some ways, I like him a little bit more than Malik Willis, if I'm being real with you.
Yeah, Ritter himself had a very solid, very nice combine. And if I were to give him a comparison, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Dak Prescott. Now,
I keep hearing that being tossed around.
That could be a good thing. That could be a bad thing.
That's a compliment.
Depending on who you talk to, depending on who you negotiate with about the comparison. You know, some people have said he looks like a Ryan Tannehill. I honestly think he looks like a Deshaun Jackson. I think he's about
Deshaun Jackson.
Or not Jackson. Dak Prescott. I don't know where the hell that came.
Jackson.
I'm thinking of Deshaun Watson, but I said Deshaun Jackson. I don't know how the hell I thought of Deshaun Jackson. He reminds me, Desmond Ritter reminds me a lot of Dak Prescott.
I keep hearing that being tossed around, and that's a solid comparison.
And that's not a bad thing if you ask me.
No, that's a compliment. And truthfully, he has all the tools the Steelers are looking for. So, again, I'm not ruling anything out.
No.
And plus, there's a lot of people from Cincinnati that are going to be drafted this year. So, you know the Steelers, I don't know if their pro day has happened yet. They'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
Or some company will be there.
I have to believe
there is a lot of talent to come out of that school. So, I'm anticipating for sure.
Especially on defense for Cincinnati, too.
Oh, for defense, offensively, I mean, there's a lot of guys. So, I'm anticipating something. I don't know when the pro day is, but I'm sure someone regarding the Steelers scouts will be there.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, if Colbert and Tomlin are there, then that's very serious. In fact, isn't it – whose pro days are all on the same? I think it was Ritter, Pickett, and some other quarterback that their all pro days are the same day, which is odd. Which is very odd.
Well, I would definitely have to imagine the Steelers are going to
balance it out.
Yeah.
So I would imagine. So if I had, I can't exactly remember. Maybe it is Cincinnati and Pitt's pro day at the same day. But let's say it is. I can't confirm. Again, I don't remember. But let's say that's the case. I can imagine Matt Canada is going to go to the Pitt pro day just because he used to work there.
Yeah.
He's going to go to the Pitt pro day. and Tomlin and Colbert are going to go to Cincinnati.
Or maybe they send quarterback coach Mike Sullivan to one of the pro days.
Right. So
whether that's Pickett or Willis or Ritter or whoever.
They'll
spread it out.
Exactly.
They'll spread it out for sure.
I don't mind quarterback at 20. I don't. But that's if they build the line in free agency, if they fix the line. I don't mind us re-signing Chucks. If that's the case, maybe you sign a center, maybe you sign a guard. That's doable. That's pretty easy for the Steelers to do.
And you can't forget about some of the holes on the defense, too.
Right.
Some of the guys that could very well be leaving. Or we could cut on defense and we got to replace.
That's why I'm hoping the next week or two, we start seeing something so we can get some confirmation, some understanding of what we will do at 20.
It really, and we said all offseason so far before free agency hits, it really depends on what they do in free agency.
Right. So, anyway, guys, I think that will do it for tonight's SteelTwins Saturday night as we talked about the news of Killebrew and Haskins and Ray. Well, not Ray. Millette, maybe Ray shortly, but obviously we talked about the Deshaun Watson stuff a little bit with you guys, and of course the Steelers Free Agency Wishlist, and you guys helped out with that, so I'm glad we can make this an interactive thing. But we're going to call it a stream. We're going to call it a night. And thank you guys for joining us on the SteelTwins Saturday night. Hopefully we can do one next week where we'll have a little bit more news to talk about, with more Steelers news, more restructures, releases, signings, something. The new league year starts Wednesday. It is officially going to begin Wednesday, thus all the moves that have already happened and that will happen very shortly within the next couple of weeks, or next couple of days actually, will become official come Wednesday. So the NFL offseason is in full circle. It's here. It's exciting, and there's a lot more to come about. So I can't wait. Hopefully Steelers start making some decent moves, some splashes, something un-Steeler-like, and they go out the box a little bit for Colbert last year, but we'll see what happens. But thank you guys for joining us, and yeah, man, we might be live next week as well. But we're going to see what Colbert does. We'll see how free agency balances out before we come out with something new. So
yeah, maybe we hear some breaking news, some sort of news definitely from the Steelers. Fingers crossed.
Right, and that will obviously determine whenever our next content's up. But we're gonna let everything play out in the NFL free agency pool before we can come out with something. Hopefully it's something big. Fingers crossed for Deshaun Watson. I know it's not happening, but don't tell me that. Don't tell me that.
It's not happening.
Don't tell me that. Don't put that in the air, man. Don't put that in the air.
It's not happening.
I'm just saying.
I'll see.
Anyway, guys, you guys have a great rest of your night. Don't forget to turn the clocks back. No, clocks forward, right? Is it back or forward an hour? Because daylight savings is tomorrow.
Is it? I forgot all about that. Some bitch.
I think you got to turn the clock back an hour. I forget how it works. Anyway, you guys, you know what? Enjoy your guys' night. Enjoy your guys' weekend. Maybe we get some more news tomorrow. And you guys have a safe one, man.
Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later.
Peace!